Well, I just realized I'm the only one to be being talked to. Okay. Now I have headphones here. Okay. Should do all this beforehand, I know. Okay. Well, hello, Crime Stoppers. I don't even know where to begin. Again, there's so damn much going on all the time. Where do you start? Let's start with something easy. So let's see here. If you can do math, the whole styling and profiling from our friends up north, who, by the way, tax some of our products like hundreds of percent, and there's just going to be reciprocal trades. Simple as that. Your Canadian products are going to get the same tariffs that you put on ours. What's the issue? But here's the thing. Canada, 76% of all their exports. That's 19 fucking percent of their GDP. And Mexico, 78% of their exports come to United States, right? 37% of their GDP. Okay, so let's just rounding more than a third, right? 2/5, almost 2/5, and 1/5, respectively. Meantime, United States, 2.7% of our GDP depends on our exports to Canada and Mexico combined. Who has the bargaining chip here? Okay, if you can do math, you can see it's just a show. Trudeau can jump up and down and do whatever he wants, and make all kinds of noise and gesticulate and everything, and tears in his eyes. It doesn't matter. It's 19% of the GDP that Trump's messing with, and he doesn't, combined with Mexico, they don't even account for 2.7%, right? Because we're huge. United States, huge. This is the problem. We're so huge. There's 350, well, let's go with 334 million of us. Every day something bad happens. Every single day. Because you just divide, if it's just doing math, 1% of the population doing something atrocious every day. And we're not even talking about the Luciferians and the Satanists. We're just talking about, just regular behavior. If it's just 1%, and then divide by 365, and right, you're going to get multiple bad things happening a day, right? And if you want to focus on that, you can. But guess what? Every day, good things happen too. But nobody wants to talk about those things because that's no fun. Okay, I write all this stuff down, and I'm going to make. Here, I've shown you this, and the other video managed to stay up. They didn't take it down, and the video on Facebook is still up. They didn't take that one down. But anyway, this is how I take notes. If you do the learning strategies, photo reading wild thing, you'll see this is a better way to go about it. But this is about nicotine. And you got to be able to just look at that and go, boom. All right. So now all those notes and all those hours that you spent watching videos or taking notes out of books, there it all is. And just a shot for your brain. You can take and pick information out of it. And then here's the thing. When it comes to the codes and knowing your statutes, because you're going to have to deal in statute, the cause is statute. The nature is commercial. It's all commercial. Okay. But you got to know the statutes, like 4 USC 71. What's that? You got to know what's in KHVUS. CAHA, CAHA, CAHA VUS, in 1894. Why is that case important? Let's see here. Title 25, dealing with Indians. And why would you want to study about the Indians? Well, because they are unregistered, and some of them unrecognized tribes and nations. And if you go look in the, what are we calling it? The 8FAM, what is it? The field office manual for the State Department, passport endorsements. it talks about that and being, recognized nations. Take a look at, if you find it, and I'll tell you what, I'll even put it here. Yeah, it's all there. It's not secure. You'd be afraid. Here. If you look at this, that's what I'm looking at, and you scroll down to the endorsements, what you want is D11. The bearer is an ambassador at large for Crouton Ramon's House of Math, right? Because look, under in red, a little explanation, use only when authorized by CAPPT SIA. Use the exact title provided by HR or PAS, e.g., Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues. So you're thinking that you're an ambassador for a nation or a country, but wait, you could be ambassador at large for global women's issues. Why couldn't you be ambassador at large for Crouton Ramon's House of Math, or ambassador at large for Slowjamistan, or ambassador at large for the Amnesty Coalition? You could. Just kind of sort of got to let them know. Okay, and they're not going to issue you a passport if you say you're not a U.S. citizen. Okay, well, yeah, actually they will. If you can be a non-citizen national, but what you're going to inform them is that you know the difference between your name and the man, and the name is not a U.S. citizen. Like, okay, in my case, that name was created by man. After I was born, I'm the source, in the state of Illinois, making that name an Illinoisan. And that Illinoisan name is a sole proprietorship with a social security number attached to it. My mother thought that it was the same as me, but she informed on that name. Why did she inform on the name? Because they bonded that name. And there's another document that you can't get your hands on, slave, that when they rolled your feet and stamped those, yeah, they claimed your soul. And whoever has the most of those wins some kind of cosmic game or another. I don't know. But the idea being is that there's a document that you're never going to see, and then you get a certificate. And on that certificate, though, it does say the living man was born on this date, came down the birth canal through the water, right? And that's why you're born again. If you do the baptismal, it's that same water and simulating coming out of the water. Okay, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. It is a miracle. Like we don't, we take this miracle for granted because it happens every day, but it's still a miracle. The man with a womb bringing another one in to this prime material plane. From where? And where do we go afterwards? But anyway, the idea is that when that thing comes in, it's endowed by its creator, who is not mommy and daddy, by the way, and it certainly isn't a king, and it certainly isn't a constitution, but endowed by its creator with certain unalienable rights. We're the crazy ones, the ones that actually believe that we were given unalienable rights, endowed by our, we deserve it or not, you got them. Okay, then this other thing is created by the state, in this case, the state of Illinois, and I'm fine with that. That would make me a non-citizen national. Now, go take a look at Illinois constitutions. There's more than one of them. There's some pretty good constitutions. Just like you go over to Hawaii, and 1849 Constitution in Hawaii is a pretty good constitution. Okay, so who has the right to determine? You have the right to determine. They do not get to tell you who you are or even where you are. They can sure try and trick you into saying that you're in the United States or that you're a resident. But see, and it took me forever to figure this out, non-citizen national, right? Non-resident alien. I know what is non-resident alien. And so much, like I said, so much going on. But a lot of these guys, because I was just watching and trying not to have my head explode as I listen. But yeah, see, here's the problem with Brandon Joe Williams and a lot of other guys. They don't understand that these guys are not honorable. They don't, right? In my case, they just made stuff up and backdated warrants and then never showed me the warrant. And then, of course, once I did get the warrant, it wasn't an actual warrant because there's no serial number on it. It wasn't actually signed. And then Hobbs, who's now the governor of the state, was supposed to certify the thing, and she never came back and certified it. There is no documentation that shows that there was a certified warrant signed by the governor for extradition for me because I was a fugitive of justice. Okay. Same thing with a lot of these J6 guys. They fucked around with the evidence. They withheld exculpatory evidence, and they fucked with the timestamps. And oh my God, yeah, that's what they do. Right? You're expecting honorable people to follow the law? No, what they're in there is they want to drag you into the merchant's tent. And in that merchant's tent, it's like, hey, Marty, look at this slave. He just came in here and talking about the Constitution and stuff. You don't seem to understand. I'm never going to say this. You don't seem to understand that you're in a commercial venue. And those are bankers. And it's an administrative thing that's going on there. And a lot of these guys no more even, they want you to think they do, but they no more even oath of office that's signed. The documents that I have purporting to be oaths of office for certain judges from the judiciary courts of the state of Hawaii are farcical. The signature isn't even notarized, and there is no anti-bribery statement. So, that must mean they were acting in their own, doing private bar business. But they try to make you think that it's all official and up and everything. But what they want is to drag as many people in there, right? And especially because there were certain things going on a couple of years ago where they were just raising revenue by bonding as many people as possible. They certainly bonded my case. There was one guy, like I said, I got to spend, as my uncle would say, 143 days in the Hoosgow. And while I was in the Hoosgow, there was one guy in there that was in there for drunk driving, but the charge was like 9 years ago. I told him, why you go look up a statute of limitation? But see, they were bonding his case. And he was sitting in jail for a thing where it was a statute of limitation. I mean, it was 9 years ago. So anyway, he did a little work, and lo and behold, he got out because, statute of limitation had expired on that case. Did his public pretender mention that to him? Or were they been unhappy for him to write checks or use his labor to try and pay off the debt that they created via statute? And when and that DUI, he was not even moving at the time. He was asleep in his car. Another time he got a DUI, he told me he's a repeat offender. He actually fell asleep at a stoplight. Next thing you know, there's a cop tapping on his window. And yeah, he was so drunk, he fell asleep at a stoplight. Don't be on the road when you're like that. But anyway, the idea is that you wasn't hurting anybody at the time, and they converted that into a debt. And not only that, very serious because, public safety and everything. I'm so old. I remember when it was one for the road. I mean, seriously, that's how old I am. And then we had the Mother Against Drunk Driving thing when I was in high school. And they've converted that into huge amounts of money. I think you'll notice for a while there, and still, you can get liquor anywhere. Here, same thing in Hawaii. But you can buy alcohol all over the place. You can buy beer anywhere. Um, In order to buy the beer, do you have to be in a vehicle, or do you walk to the store? Okay. And then if you happen to have an open container in your car, like I said, they converted the most ridiculous things into money-making ventures. Now, they have, see, all law being jurisdictional in nature, they have no jurisdiction over the living soul, over the living man, over the physical body. Again, Crouton Ramon has no thumbs. 100th Monkey has no thumbs. And neither one of those things has EINs either. The all caps name, Ben H. Rogers, does not have thumbs. Needs someone to represent him, needs someone to sign for him. Him beneficiary of a trust they set up. Him is the sole proprietorship, but him is not the same as me. See, because you could put a picture of me next to Crouton Ramon on a piece of plastic, and you could say that that's Crouton Ramon, but it's not. That's a picture of me. And that's Crouton Ramon, a name I made up, whose consent is considered to be a record. Right? A living individual. See, this is when I really started waking up the rest of the way. Is wait a minute, this is a name I made. It's a living individual. Then that means I didn't know what living individual meant, because they're not lying to me. They know it's not a living individual, because I think it means one thing and they think it means another, and they're not going to translate for you in court or anywhere else. It's up to you to know what the words mean. So that's why Brandon Joe Williams, like I said, he'll spend months trying to figure out what a fucking word means, or get a definition, or look up a definition, or try to find something. And lo and behold, it turns out that, yeah, your labor is not an article of commerce. And they only have jurisdiction over commerce. So right there. All right. So again, go back to the slaughterhouse cases and read. And once you start understanding what you're reading, you're going to see that, yeah, you're not subject to the tax. Lo and behold, not a 14th Amendment citizen. Lo and behold, not even a U.S. citizen, except by fraud, unwittingly. They tricked you. And you know what? Americans hate to admit they've been tricked. Hate it. And then same thing, Brandon Joe Williams. Last thing I saw is very excellent discourse. He's been making videos like crazy. Like I said, I can't keep up with them all. But the idea being is that he's figured out that, yeah, these are not honorable people. If you back them into a corner, they're going to, I do not understand. Right? I'll teach you. There's a lady, hope she's watching this eventually. Watch it at 2x speed at your leisure. Learn where to sign. You don't sign over here. You sign over there. It's by and for. And you sign, if this is your document, you sign on this side or in the middle if you're that kind of person. But you don't sign over here, slave, unless you are the slave, if you are the employee. But you sign over here. Okay, that makes a difference. And then you might want to put a stamp on the back of your document. Just maybe, wait, do I have one handy? Do not have one handy. But here's, yes, I do. All right. So over here, see, I'm signing the bottom, and there's my thumbprint. Right? Okay. And then on the back of the document, there's a stamp. And then usually I'll put something like C reverse, because why, Brandon? Why would I do such a crazy thing? Because I've seen it with my own eyes, where they flip your document over, right? Because this is your court. Here is, oh, look at a legal size piece of paper. This is the public side. This would be the private side. And he'll flip it over to the private side and say, oh, look, it's blank. So what you need to do is write very small over there someplace, C reverse. On this one, it didn't matter because I wasn't going to use it. This isn't going into a court of law. And you want paperwork reduction so that you reduce your paperwork so that you're missing that much of your paperwork, right? You want 8.5 by 11. But anyway, the idea is that they're not up and up. So if you do back them into the corner and you don't have anything on documents that you put in at court, they'll flip your documents over and see nothing there. because there isn't anything there because it's blank because he's looking at the other side of the piece of paper. They get 101 tricks. Ah, drunk on these. Have you noticed these guys just don't know when to shut up? Oh my God. Doge is stealing from you. Could it be? I mean, they just, whatever it is, they just reverse it. They just absolutely reverse it. There's the ones that you can't talk about. They claim that the guys that have been there for thousands of years can prove it with DNA and can show their lineage going back, and the church has been there forever. It's a Christian church, by the way. They're Orthodox Christians. Those are the squatters. And the ones that just Johnny come lately, and right after like 1940 something or another, and there was, I don't know, something about this and that, and Baldor Declaration or something, and they made this, and then those guys came, and it turns out when you do their DNA, they're not from there. A lot of them not even Semites. Anyway, the idea is that when you hear the exact opposite of the truth, that could be our adversary. See, because what many people have finally figured out, and see, that's the good news and the bad news, because yeah, we have an adversary, but lo and behold, we have benefactors too. But you are in the domain of the adversary, and it's very clear. Now, Christ, Antichrist. It's not dudes. It's this. It's the thought. It's the spirit. See, and you can't get it here, so you have to get it here. So you have to accept it into your heart, and once you do that, then you're supposed to do Christian things, and spirit of forgiveness, and honor and justice and all of that stuff. Yeah, these guys do not accept the Christ consciousness. Most of them are not Christians. Most of them very much are deists, and they belong to a certain secret societies and so forth. But they are not with the Christ. They are with the Antichrist. Some of the things that are hallmarks of the Antichrist: lust, fraud, lies in general. And generally, those lies are, like I said, exactly the opposite of the truth. Greed, jealousy, all of those things. Those are Antichrist. Wounding instead of healing, right? Harming instead of nurturing, especially when it comes to children. That's the spirit of the Antichrist. And the Christ is a healing spirit. And you can accept the Christ. And when you accept the Christ, then you can do these things. And he told you everything I did, you can do and more. And I can tell you, while in the Hoosgow, there were guys that absolutely didn't deserve any kind of healing, in my opinion. And yet, when I laid hands on them, they received healing. And I don't have them handy, but I do have a piece of paper that's like a yearbook where all these different inmates signed and gave me a little testimonial. And I should have several sheets of them. I only got one because I didn't think of it until we got unhoused. And then the next house I went to, I didn't do much healing in that house because those guys were really hardcore. Bad men. Anyway, real niggas with real problems. Yeah, thieves and high-level drug dealers and all kind of stuff. Anyway, the area was not appropriate for it because it was a total dungeon and so on. But anyway, in that other place, I was in there for months, and I did quite a bit of laying up hands. It was amusing. If you got an owie, go see Maui, because I come from Maui, and that was my nickname. Because in prison, they don't use, well, not prison, it was jail, but in jail or in prison, they generally don't use your real name. They don't give your name. And see, this is the other thing. When you go into the courts, you'll notice they don't give their real names. They know that that's an allegiance, and that person is acting as that position. Right? It's not them acting as men, they're acting as whatever that title is in that position. And see, they do everything they can to make sure that you think that the all caps name and you are the same. And then they create a debt against it. And then, like I said, they're not going to be honorable about it. And once you go in there and figure it out, and see, here's the difference between me and a lot of people, because I have an unrebutted affidavit sitting there as notice to the world. And it went there via this, so it's certified and or registered and bonded. So mailbox rule applies, and you should know what that is. And then I don't have the one that I do, but there's a purple stamp that goes here because it was entered into the record, and it's now been unrebutted, and it's been sitting there for quite some time. And unrebutted testimony in the form of an affidavit is valid, or stands if it's unrebutted, and it's unrebutted. Okay, and what did I rebut? I rebutted the idea that the living man and the sole proprietorship were the same thing. I informed them that they were two different entities. I informed them that they had two different birth dates. I informed them that, and see, I didn't, and now I am starting to understand that I need to let them know that, yeah, I have a document. Oh, do I have it? I've showed it numerous times. Oh, look, there's my name holder certificate. There's my notice. Yes, there it is. I have a document right here from this guy's right there. Oh, wait. There you go. I think the Citizen and Immigration Services of the Department of Homeland Security would know. And look, can you see the serial number right there? Yeah, a bond should have that serial number also. And so should a warrant, so that you know it's an original document. But anyway, what does this say? This says that I am not a... They have no record of Ben H. Rogers being a citizen of the United States, or an employee, or a dependent, or an officer. I put it right there in my information request. So what do that make me? That make me state citizen. And now I have to become, I didn't realize, my bad. Again, I'm going to apologize. My bad. I should have told them that, it's, I'm an Illinoisan with regard to this, with this Constitution, because I didn't tell them, right? Okay, so I gotta let them know that, the living man was born in Illinois State, not state of Illinois. It's actually impossible for me to be born in that fiction, because that fiction, where does it reside? And see, that's why you gotta know this stuff. You gotta just be able to rattle it off. 28 USC 1743 1. You are outside DC when you sign your documents. Let's see here. UCC 9-307. What's the location of the debtor? DC. Right? You gotta, right? And then it tells you that they don't have, right? You just gotta know these by heart without thinking about it. And see, if you had been taught this since you were 14, 15, 16, you'd know this stuff, and you'd be able to say, oh yeah, that's what is 4 USC 71? And actually, I think that's me being dyslexic. It's 4 USC 17, isn't it? But anyway, and what's in 4 USC? And which 4 USC do you use? Is it 12 USC? What? And then when you're doing the back of a check, because you're redeeming for lawful money, you should just know these things. Okay. Like I said, you want to talk about current events? But yeah, 4 USC 71. There you go. It's a permanent sort of government. UCC 9307. The location of the debtor. The U.S. is unpopulated by physical humans, right? Because they're juristic entities. All of this is imagination, and then they try to bring it down to, right, Brandon Joe Williams trying to find the location of the state. What is his name? Joel Lustica trying to, right? And these guys will go through the codes, and try and find definitions and procedures for letting them know lawfully that you are not contracting with them. See, everything should change in your mind when you realize that federal and contract are basically synonymous. So it's the contract government. They set up a government by contract. But see, most of us, all of us, my mom, my dad, your dad, would never have contracted with this thing. And grandma said, don't sign anything. And the reason why she said don't sign anything is because when you sign, you're contracting. And the whole thing is set up to contracts. Contracts. And once you understand that the whole thing is enforcement of contracts, they get you to write contracts. And then certain contracts come with death penalty if you violate the contract. And they tell you straight up that, you violate this non-disclosure agreement and disclose what we tell you not to disclose, and we're going to come kill you. And probably your family. Maybe your kids first, right in front of you, and then you. Just that never happens, right? This is just for entertainment purposes only. That would never happen in the United States. They would never do such a thing. These are guys, when it comes to the United States military, there's a lot of them that, we got the bad guy, and, some babies and women and horses and dogs and cats got in the way. Okay, so they have no issue enforcing those contracts at all, ever. All right, so the idea being is that they would never get you to sign this contract if you knew what the contract meant. You didn't understand. Mom didn't understand. Dad didn't understand. They didn't understand. They thought we were in the Republic. They've been tricked. They didn't understand that they were signing away unalienable rights for constitutional privileges and immunities from a corporation, because you become an employee of the corporation. And just like at McDonald's, they tell you wear a funny hat. If you don't like wear a funny hat, you can be McDonald's employee. If you McDonald's employee, you subject to all of this rules and stuff. Okay, if you U.S. employee, you also subject to all this stuff. We have plenty of power over you. You got to give us all your stuff. Don't worry, we're going to take care of for you, right? But you got to register your house. You got to register your car. You got to, right? And then once you register it, we can tax it because you gave it to us as a gift. And the one that gives the gift is responsible for the tax. See, that's why Yusuf El one time, he was saying, once you get this information, you start digging deep into it, like go over to Yusuf El's stuff or go over to Brandon Joe Williams or go over to some of these other guys. Can you handle the information? Because some people get awfully pissed off when they start finding out the truth. Because, they trick you. They trick you into becoming a United States citizen because you give up all your rights. Hey, Morty, we got this guy in here. He says he's a U.S. citizen, but he says he get constitutional rights. He's got these constitutional rights that he's trying to enforce in our merchant's tent. And he thinks he's a member of the Republic. But why are you in the merchant's tent doing commerce then? And you're going to stand on your constitutional rights in a place where they tell you that basically they consider you a 14th Amendment until such time as you tell them otherwise. You're guilty. They make assumptions. They assume that you don't know the difference between your name and the thing that they're going to bond. And see, let me make that clear. The living man, your name. My name is Ben Hosea. My family name is Rogers. The living man is talking to you right now. Look, I have thumbs. I can sign stuff. The legal fiction is mute. Can't speak unless I speak. Needs somebody to speak for him. Is considered infant is considered incompetent, is considered lost at sea, is often considered a dead thing. Right. The first thing I did long time ago, when I was still completely ignorant about Dunn's numbers and what that meant, and the private corporations and so forth that have been developed on the North American continent to extract wealth from us. But I sent the IRS this thing that said, I'm not decedent. The guy that's writing to you. But see, back then I was still confused, and I had the living man and the all caps name, this, which is what they want. And so then I put that paperwork into the court and subrogated them. So we get living man over here, and well, actually living man over here, because this is my right, and this over here on the left is the all caps name. And if you sign over here on the paper underneath the all, they assume that that's you to slave on. So that's why you want to sign over here on the right, where the living man signs. And you don't just want to sign one, you want to sign by, and then the all caps name, that's the for, and then maybe the by is the agent, and the for is the beneficiary. But don't get your signature too gummed up there. And then you might want to put a thumbprint on it, and then put a seal on it, so that when you have a nice living document, you can see this document is dead. This is a copy. But if it was the real document, that would be real ink, and there would be, and it would be red. And this right here, you'd be able to feel a raised seal. That's how you know it's the original document. Guess what? They can't make those. Only we can make those. And then you got to know what to put on your document. And they're not going to tell you. They are under no obligation to tell you what to put on your documents. But basically, what you want to do is let them know that you've figured out that you are not the dead thing, you are the living thing, that you're not an infant, and that you are competent to handle your affairs. So if you're competent to handle your affairs, you probably will deport yourself in such manner as you're not swearing in your documents. Can't believe that. There's certain guy. I mean, don't put fuck, anything, shit, any of that. Don't put any of that in your documents. Those are formal documents. Use formal English. Swearing is not a part of formal English. Go look at the Chicago Manual of Style. You're not allowed to curse, even though your documents should be not in cursive. If you notice, this is actually print. But they try to trick you into cursing. They try to trick you into swearing when you walk in. Hey, do you swear? No, I'll affirm. Okay. They consider you a heathen. They consider you, and see, that's another thing. One sentence left out of the documents. I am not a heathen. See this book right here. It's code. And there was this guy, again, the Christ consciousness. He came and he paid all your debts. So you can stand on this book if you know what you're doing, because the Redeemer came and redeemed you. We're not talking about souls and mystical stuff. We're talking about debts in court. Okay, but most of you guys don't know how to use this. So there's other ways to go. But the idea is there are your debts have been paid by Christ the Jesus. Okay, but you guys don't know how to enforce it. So maybe you learn some other statutes and so forth, and realize that all law is jurisdictional in nature, and you are not inside their jurisdiction. You're not a resident. Now, oops. See, and I have documents now that lets them know I'm not a resident of this state or any other state. See, and then once you find out about alloidial titles and Ron Gibson and all that kind of stuff, you realize that you're going to make that piece of land not part of the operating territory of state of or county of. Right? So you remove it, and then again, they cannot even step on the land without permission. Unless they have a contract or something. And see, then you can set up your private membership associations. on Hana side, there are guys out there cooking food and serving it to the tourists. Kitchen is not state or county of Maui or county of Hawaii or whatever. But see, they make a private membership association. They let them know they own private property, the Hawaiian Kingdom usually, from with land patents, and county of Maui's regulations and statutes do not apply there. Oh, they get pissy about that. But a lot of people finding that out. Okay, that's the consciousness that's rising. The consciousness that's rising is wait a second. Something happened in 1871. Oh, wait a second. They took the 1872. Something happened. They took the silver out. Oh, what were they doing? They were enslaving us, all of us. And the liars, while they were enslaving you, they told you you were being free. So yeah, sign this thing. Look, you're so free. You get to vote for who rules you. You have a say. Just tell us that you're a U.S. citizen. And that way, the guys in D.C. have plenary power over you and yours. And they're not going to tell you about getting a 5-star passport. Yeah, there you go. They don't want to hear it. Have you noticed how loud the pigs are squealing? Because see, the pigs are squealing because these guys have written AI, and again, all of the documents have numbers on them, right? Check numbers that are unique. You ever thought about that? So with AI, they can figure out where that individual check was deposited. And they're starting to, okay, so that's the part that they're not telling you on the TVs, on the screens. They've got them dead to rights. And now people will be like, oh, Elon doesn't need that. Elon knows that data is now the new currency. Data is the new gold. Data is the new thing. And oh yeah, he had PayPal. Compare PayPal, the database of PayPal, to the database of, oh, I don't know, the IRS, the database of the Treasury, the database of that United States corporation and its subcorporations, dwarfs PayPal. And he got all that data. And see, but he needed that data to be able to mine it to find the fraud. And lo and behold, billions and billions and billions into the hundreds of billions. And the guys that are guilty, they're trying to throw up all kind of smoke screens like, oh, they don't know what they're doing when it comes to the Social Security coding. The thing says that these guys, well, first off, just the number of Social Security numbers, right? There's like 60 million more than there are U.S. citizens, right? Social Security numbers, right, there should be 334 million of them or so, if that's the population of United States corporation according to their censuses, and there's like more like 400 million. Where are all those extra Social Security numbers? And then they find out one of the most coolest things. There's all these guys. They're not just working from home. They don't exist. Oh, hell yes. And you, because you're here. I can tell you directly, I don't know about the CIA, but I can tell you that there are a couple of agencies that are interested in me, that are quote unquote law enforcement. And because I'm a person of interest and have been identified as a, sovereign citizen. Americans are sovereign. Yeah, I'm claiming to be an American. I'm claiming that I was born in Illinois and I've never lived in Washington, D.C. Oh, they hate the truth. But anyway, the idea is that because I'm a person of interest, and with Global Tellink, my voice is my password. Uh, Anybody watching this is of interest. Anybody that calls me is of interest. All my friends on Facebook are of interest. Um, they have, and do they need a warrant for any of that? They do not need a warrant for any of that. But yeah, and a lot of Judas goats, and I've dealt directly with Judas goats, and the Judas goats didn't think I knew that they were Judas goats. And at the very end there, I kind of let them know that I knew they were Judas goats. But see, what they try to do is try and trick you. And what is it on the left? Greed. Always greed. Oh, look, you can get something for nothing. Oh, look, you have a trust account. You do have a trust account. And it's like infinite. And I've seen all the bond trading that they've done on my name and that social security number. And it's freaking billions of dollars. And of course, the utility that you used to look that stuff up is defunct. You can't use it anymore. Fortunately, I took a few screenshots. But see, the bond market is way bigger than the stock market. And they don't tell you about what they're bonding, but they're bonding your signature and they're bonding your promises to pay. And they know that these corporations that masquerade as courts will get the money out of you. So it's a good bet that that bond will pay off. Yeah. And see, they don't, but sometimes you have to. And they will listen to it when you're trying to get your 5-star passport, which is the document that you need, 4 or 5 stars. Just letting them know that you have figured out that the living man and this thing that they're going to give the passport to so that you can deal in, because it's all commerce again. Um, you're the agent for that thing, but you're not the same thing. And it's amusing because my sons are traveling about and they just notice the reactions of the people at the gates, the customs agents in various countries, when they see, they always, apparently their heads 99% of the time snap back. And they watch their eyes and they look at various parts of the screen. And they don't let you behind them so you can see what's on the screen. So we don't know what information they have. How the fuck is that? That our public servants know more about us than we do. How did that happen? Because they're supposed to be public servants, right? And see, here's the other thing, guys. What do you do when you go through those gates? You paid for them. You paid for them to violate your rights. You look on your ticket. There's a fee there. I mean, they got to get paid somehow. So, yeah, when you pay that fee, doesn't if you pay for them to search you, doesn't that kind of mean that you consented to search before you even got there when you paid for the ticket? I don't hear Elon or Trumpy boy talking about this at all. You still taking your shoes off at the airport? I think you're still taking your shoes off at the airport. By the way, I can't even talk about it. We're not allowed to say certain things here on there because we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. But there's a certain bunch of people where you still haven't got their names, you still haven't got the video, you still haven't got the files off the drives, you still haven't got the emails, you still because they have everything. You still haven't got the data from their phones, putting them in certain locations that they'd rather not know you were there, or that they wait a minute, hold on a second. You'd rather not know they were there. They'd rather you not know that they were on certain places. And now have you seen the complete bullshit they're doing with Gene Hackman? Oh, it was natural causes. Yeah, that's it. Did Gene own an island, and was Gene gonna testify? Oh no, he was a senile old man, and his wife died. Okay, um, they have it all. They just don't want us to have it all. And why doesn't someone ask Pam what pedophiles? Oops, I'm not supposed to say that word out loud. have to do with national security? What do national security and these people have to do with it? They shouldn't. Those two words shouldn't even be going. Yes, they do. Because guess what? You can go look back when we didn't have when the media wasn't completely captured. They ran a whole bunch of stories about all these different computers at the Pentagon having multiple pictures of very young pizza. And then all of a sudden that story got spiked. See, because a lot of the Pollyannas in the tent that they think it's two tents. They think we're in this tent, we're the good guys. We got Jab Daddy for us, and these are the bad guys over here in this other tent. They had this woman who wasn't even black, and so on. Okay, no, it's one tent, and they're ruling you. And lately, they've been coming out and pretty much making it clear that maybe the last 4 years was something that you didn't. It might have been one thing when you thought it was another, and that he might have been auto signing everything. Who's he? That they might have been auto signing all the documents, because the one document that did have a signature on it was the one where he decided he wasn't going to run, but all the rest of those ones are auto signed. But guess what? The auto signs, yeah, there's serial numbers on those documents, and they can trace and see who did what, sort of, kind of, if they're authentic. And if they don't have serial numbers and it's an auto, then the document is not valid. So we've got some constitutional questions coming up, because there's also the fact that I guarantee they haven't let it go, that there might have been, and we're not supposed to talk about that at all, which should be a huge clue about what happened in 2020. Because I guarantee you the guy's ego is not going to let that go. But from some accounts, they kind of intimate that he might have been more or less in charge of some of it, for going, this is going to be the 12th set, right? He's been here for 8, and this will be 12 when he's done. Because you're not going to take this whole thing down, and they're putting on one hell of a show. Let's talk about that for just a second. This show that they put on, is U.S. citizen? Yeah. Do you have to be an American to be a U.S. citizen? Because most U.S. citizens are Americans. Could you be from another country and be a U.S. citizen? And in fact, keep your citizenship in that country and keep your citizenship in United States Corporation. Why, yes, you are. In fact, if you take a look, a lot of these people that are in have interest in pharma also have interest in this other place where there's like L and Ra and ISIS, and they jumbled it all nicely up and gave you some word salad, and they do it in the other direction. Anyway, those guys seem to be dual citizens, and they're often heads of pharma. But also take a look at where they are in United States government, the officers and positions that they hold, the dual citizenship with other places. Because Russians, they could, the Department of State, if they wanted to, you could be a Russian citizen and an American citizen. You can be a Canadian citizen and a U.S. citizen. You can be a New Zealander. You can be etc. I know plenty Filipinos that are citizens of Philippines and citizens of United States. Because when they come from Philippines and they come Hawaii and citizens of the United States, right, they get benefits. See, and these other guys were also getting benefits, but they were getting them illegally. But there's a legal way to get benefits. And see, now, if you get benefits from United States Corporation, you are dependent of United States Corporation, and you signed a piece of paper that changes you to the sky and makes you a dependent. Oh, that means you are acknowledging that they have plenary power over you in exchange for those benefits. Because a lot of times you sign the paper and then you got to be U.S. citizen, or you got to have a social security number. for you to sign up to get those benefits. That's not too hard to understand. Anyway, the idea is that there's these others that are also U.S. citizens, but they're also citizens of other countries. And when they rise into positions of power in the government, perhaps the enemy is inside the gates because the country that they're dual citizenship with might not have the same goals and aspirations as the average Christian American. In fact, it might be part of their motto that by deception they'll do war and they'll do anything to get those American Christians to go kill people in places like Iraq or hell, Iran or wherever, Libya, all over the place. Really? Okay, well, you look at the Rodrigo Duarte was arrested a few hours ago. I did not know this. Anyway, but yeah, there's this guy, that Hungarian guy and that Romanian guy. They're blowing the lid off, talking about things that they're not supposed to talk about, and they're not just it's not some guy talking to you on the tubes. These are guys that would be presidents of their countries or their republics or their corporations or however they got it set up over there in Romania and Hungary. But they're talking about Maria and the worship of the elders and so forth that they do, and the blood that they need, and. So they're not even going to let somebody. They try to arrest the guy. They try to not even let him run, even though he's popular. Here's the thing. Did he tell you none of them can stop the time? Because see, what happened is we went from Pisces and now we in Aquarius, and now all of their nonsense that they did in groups is going to be exposed. They can't help it. They can't stop it. The truth is coming out. This book over here, he tell you numerous times in here, I get quote after quote where it says everything hidden is going to be exposed in the light. And they're going to hate it when it gets exposed in the light. And that's why, because they understand that there's going to be a bunch of these guys no can even show their face in the grocery store. Not that they were there in the first place, but they won't even be able to go out where the normal people is, because it is customary. And see, when nothing happened to those people, then it's kind of customary for Americans to take things into their own hands. See, I'm old enough to remember when it was customary for straight men to beat the fuck out of men that weren't straight and were acting not straight in public. And when the cops got there, the perpetrators were always unknown, even if they were standing there with bloody knuckles. Because custom is the highest form of the law, and the cops not going to prosecute. Bro, those guys absolutely are telling you the truth. I've seen it on more than one occasion. Okay, gonna be the same thing when it turns out. And those are guys that are just, right? They don't, anyway, them is just guys that like guys. Right? They're not necessarily harming children. See, and they're trying to, and see, that's the thing, they're trying to conflate the two. But the ones that harm children, even in jail, you cannot let them in general pop, as they say, because someone in general pop will take them out. And then their for-profit prison lose money because the family of the person that got taken out going to sue them for not keeping them safe. Okay, so in general pop out here, you let these people be known. The reason why they're famous, you listen to their music, you watch them on the tubes, you watch them on the screens, you know where they live. There's celebrity tours even. And oddly enough, a lot of places where they live seem to be burning up in fires. There's wildfires going on right now on Long Island in some pretty pricey neighborhoods. Those wildfires that happen in March when it's still winter. South Carolina wildfires. Wildfires on the island that I'm from. Wildfires in LA. Okay, go try to look up Samson Doctrine. Because Samson Doctrine does not mean us and everybody else. It just means if you do Samson Doctrine, you destroy your own. You take it all down. So all the evidence that might be in your house and all the stuff that might be and there's all kind of accoutrements, and there may be things that you don't understand that are getting destroyed. And some of it is because it's them fighting, and some of it is Samson Doctrine. Because a lot of these guys, they know they're in big trouble. So they are sacrificing. And see, they'll sacrifice their own. They'll sacrifice their own stuff. They'll sacrifice their own house. They'll sacrifice all those possessions in a show of fealty to the adversary. And what they're hoping is that somehow, some way, they are spared the wrath of justice. I don't think so. Because the problem is, it's clear now that there are multiple people in multiple agencies that have the data, which means that that data can be hacked, which means that that data can be, once it's out there in digital form, impossible to control. And that works against us, and that works for us. Anything I've ever said is stored somewhere, someplace, even the ones they deleted, which can be used against me later in a court of law if they so chose. You're seeing this now. Oh, that's crazy talk. You're seeing this in Aussie land, and you're seeing this in the UK. Memes, guys getting arrested for memes. See, the difference is you poor Aussies and you poor Englishmen. They didn't trick us into giving up our guns. Now, if you read the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he says right in there, if they hadn't known for a fact that they were going to get home that night after they did the things that they did, they wouldn't have done the things that they did. So in other words, in the United States, if they were going to go door to door in, say, Oakland or Oakland, or in where there's Floridians, or where there's Montanans or Idahoans, them guys wasn't sure that they would come home that night. So they didn't go in the first place. See, down there in Aussie land, they were kicking in doors. What are you going to do about it, slave? Because there's only so many of them, and there's a whole fuck ton of us. Go look how much AR-15s there are just on the North American continent. And see, AR-15s, they got that 5.56, and they hate that 5.56 because you put the armor on and the bullet goes right through. Most armor. So the idea being is that, big difference between US and these other places, because they were actually laughing when some of the guys in UK were trying to say that they would, come to United States if you're posting offensive memes. Okay. And a lot of people are, okay, come. See, because there's a lot of people now that are willing to take one for the team. And they know it. So that's the deterrent right there. But when they think they can get away with it, they just showed you that as much as they can get away with is as much as they'll get away with. And the theme consistently is, what are you going to do about it, slave? Okay, so a lot of people figuring out what to do. There's a lady over there in Carmel who basically they wish they hadn't have messed with her because she's not putting it down. And I just sent her the maxim that says, no man can be kept from the sea. That's a maxim of law. I should read that there. Let me find that because I just put that up. Yeah, that's me. This is on Facebook, by the way. Hey, of course not. You know how many Ben Rogers there are? There are hundreds of them. Go look. But there's like only one Crouton Ramon and only one Ben H. Rogers. That's Panasonic. But anyway, the idea is that it's a maxim of law. And not only is it a maxim of law, it's a Nemo, if you know what that is. Okay, so let's see here. Legal Maxims, page 177. On this list, it's 1454. And see, it's a Nemo. Nemo ad litis maris acceder prohibiter. No one is prohibited from approaching the seashore. Whether it's C19 or statute, or because statutes cannot override our customs, and these are maxims from which the law is derived. No one, does that say under some circumstances? Well, you know, when there's an emergency, no one is prohibited from approaching the seashore. I got this right out of Kirk's Law Corner in the Legal Maxims. And here, I'll read the other ones just for giggles. And I'll just stick to the English. No one can be made richer to the detriment and injury of another. That's a legal maxim. No one need be wiser than the laws. Oh, that actually has a lot of, anyway, we'll skip it. More is allowed to no one against another than is conceded by the laws. And then the next one is no one is prohibited from approaching the seashore. No one is allowed to incapacitate himself. You're not allowed to incapacitate yourself. No one acts against himself. Without security, no one is deemed a competent defender of the property of another. One more time. Without security, no one is deemed a competent defender of the property of another. What does that mean? It means you need to have security. And that means you need to know what those words mean. No one may sue at law in the name of another. Let me repeat that because that sounds vaguely important. No one may sue at law in the name of another. Are they suing in the name of state of Arizona or state of Hawaii or state of whatever the fuck it is? Or are they suing in their own name? Whatever the name of that prosecutor is or whatever the name of that, right, lawyer is. No, they're suing in the name of another. But right here in the Nemos, it says no one may sue at law in the name of another. So what do that mean? How did they get around that? Once you figure out how they get around that, you realize, that merchant's tent, yeah, they don't have agency agreements. And they cannot produce an agency agreement between, let's say, the prosecutor and the county, or an agency agreement between or if they have one, you're allowed to see it during discovery. Aren't you? But see, reading the maxims kind of important. And I was told this, I don't know, 3-4 different times from 3-4 different directions. And when it came from 3 or 4 different sources within about a 2 weeks period of time, I realized, seems like somebody's trying to tell me to read the maxims. And then lo and behold, once you know some of the maxims, you can spot their malfeasance while they're operating in their courts right in front of you. And I'm going to tell you one more time, custom is the highest form of law. Oh, bro, you just typing away over here. There you go. Right? It's all gonna come to light. And they don't want it to come to light because when it comes to light, they're not safe anymore. They won't be safe anywhere. Right? These guys, oh, I'm gonna run off because they don't have extradition treaties with United States. That doesn't mean that crazy United States persons don't go find you and do bad things that they're not supposed to do. Because get a lot of guys. You ever heard of this concept of gray panthers? This was way back in the day. This was '80s actually when I was working in the radio station, and these were older Vietnam vets. All of these guys pretty much have passed by now, but this is another reason why they keep track of the veterans and they want red flag laws and they don't want the veterans to have because some of them veterans on their way out may decide to take some with, and they don't want that. And they certainly wouldn't want that kind of thought infecting the minds of many boomers who may have been tricked into doing some things that they realize now when they can't climb a fucking flight of stairs may have shortened their time here. So on their way out, let's see here, because just because it's a person that's done atrocious things, if you didn't create a grand jury and you didn't create an indictment and you didn't get a warrant and you didn't give them a trial and all you did was act as judge, jury, and executioner in a mob-like fashion, customarily that's also not that's frowned upon. See, and this is what was great. I was watching a interview with a J6er, and are we even allowed to say J6 on here? Anyway, because you're not allowed to say certain letters and numbers because we're so free. Anyway, and what he was saying is that what they're going to do is exactly the opposite of what happened to them. They are going to go by the book. They're going to bring charges. They're going to get the grand jury together. They are going to do indictments. They are going to serve these guys. They are going to give them every fucking opportunity at discovery and to defend themselves. And then they're going to bring them into courts of law. And law and justice is going to be brought down upon them for violating many, many rights and many, many trespasses. But they're going to find out that a lot of these things happened in prisons in DC. And again, all law is jurisdictional in nature. But even under United States Corporation Code, these guys guilty. And see, here's another thing that is annoying to me. David Straight, Kirk's Law Corner, a couple of these other guys, they're talking about Title 18, but they failed to mention that we cannot bring charges at Title 18. We have to use Title 42 because the only guys that can bring charges under Title 18 are like federal prosecutors. Is a federal prosecutor going to bring Title 18 charges against a judge or a police officer that, quote unquote, was just doing his job? And even if he did, when you get into one of their courts and it's all Masons and Brotherhoods, are they going to put one of their brothers away? Or are they going to pretend like they don't know what you're talking about? Just like this guy, Brendan Joe Williams, went there ready for bear, had all his documents, did all the research, read all the cases, went there, and the judge went, I don't know what you're talking about, slave. You seem to be a sovereign citizen. Because I can't understand what you wrote here. What do you mean it's plain English and I'm citing all these cases? Too bad. Oh, look, it's the UCC, and it says right here that if you give them a promise to pay without recourse, they either discharge the debt or they dishonor. But either way, there's discharge. That's a UCC 3306, I believe. Right. So you should know these off the top of your head. How do you do that? Watch lots of videos. Take notes. And you're going to hear the same thing. Where is the location of the debtor? Washington, D.C. Where is their plenary power in that 10 square miles? How do they get you? How do they drag you into the merchant's tent? By getting you to sign your name on stupid documents, tricking your mom, starting there, right? Fraud ab initio from the very beginning, from fucking within 5 days of you being here, usually. In my son's cases, it was months. In one case, he was born or created by God in this year, and the other documents were created a year later because I was fighting with the midwife and the mother not to enslave my son. But the years there's months in between, so clearly they can't be the same person because you can't be born twice. Okay, so you should know the date of your birth and the date of the creation of the sole proprietorship. And then you should be thankful for that sole proprietorship once you figure it out, because that sole proprietorship allows you to work and do all the manner of things that you need to do to support yourself in the world of commerce that they've created. And this world of commerce that they created, it's a creation, it's a technology, and it was created by your adversary. Just like if you can do mathematics, you cannot. Okay, those people that look at the sciences from a very cursory level, and they can't do algebra, and they've never done probability, and they haven't done statistics and so forth. They can look at this creation and be like, yeah, it's just a random accident. Just, millions and millions of years and all these probabilities, and eventually a monkey's going to write, Shakespeare if he just taps on the keyboard long enough. But if you can do some mathematics and study some probability and understand some statistics, then you'd go look at your eyeball and you realize, shit, that thing was created. There's no way that it wasn't created. And then you go look at our DNA. They signed our DNA. Go study the DNA. Just spend some time studying the DNA. And you will see that at some point in the past, somebody, and I don't know who these people were, they were able to manipulate DNA, and they took some things. Okay, because the way your DNA works, and there seems to be now quite a bit of evidence for peptides causing your telomeres to lengthen. When your telomeres lengthen, they don't age, because what happens is when that strand replicates itself, which is happening right now all the time. You're not telling your consciousness to do this. It just runs this thing. You have the privilege of being in this pleasure boat, and it does everything for you. You don't know. Am I digesting something right now? Probably yes, I am, because I ate some food. I don't know how that digestion process works, but my body does. And I figured out a few things with food magic, which is why I don't look. I just celebrated 61 times around the sun, supposedly, or perhaps it's the other way around. Maybe it's the sun going around. Or anyway, 365 rotations, the Shars. I just had another one, and that counts 365, 61 times. Okay, anyway, the idea is that these peptides at the end of your telomeres, if they shorten, because every time they make a copy, they shorten, and pretty soon they fray, and pretty soon you get dead. But if you keep those telomeres long, they replicate. Now, here's the thing. The telomeres only come at the end of the DNA strands. And yet there are some DNA strands, if you take a look, I'll let you find out for yourself, that seem to have the telomeres fused together. How did that happen? And then if you understand some code, the motherfucker signed the thing. Who him was, I don't know. Maybe it was a her. I don't know. But they had technology, and this is a creation. And see, all of that. That's a lovely tea, and I drink it. I don't know what really. I've studied it, but I'm not telling my body to do anything. It's happening completely 100% without my heart's beating. The blood is pumping. Cancer cells are being created and destroyed. other cells are, and I have nothing to do with it when you get right down to it on the conscious level. I'm not even aware. Most people, when they go to the doctor, they're shocked and amazed to find out that they have cancer growing in them because they didn't know. It was just doing its thing, and your body wasn't doing its thing, so the cancer grew. But you didn't know your body had been handicapped, shall we say. But the idea is that once you start to figure a few of these things out, you realize that this whole thing is not what they told us it was. And this really is a spiritual battle wherein good guys and bad guys are beefing and you're kind of caught in the middle. What you did is you woke up on a planet, you woke up in this place, and it turns out the adversary built this place. Might be a mathematical construct. See, and the way we figure out that it's a mathematical construct is that we can describe the whole thing using the mathematics. Seems to be a holographic fractal. And how it works through dimensions and time, I have no idea because it gets very complicated. But the thing is a beautiful clockwork orange. Everything works out perfectly. Everybody gets what they want all the time. They create their own reality consistently every second of every day. And us, we don't want to admit that. We could create all of this. Like today, I spent quite a bit of time cleaning off my computer. And I used Q-tips, right? So I thought I need Q-tips to clean my computer. So I went and got Q-tips in the back. The Q-tips I had bought at Costco in the big thing, right? So for days and days. But see, it was a thought that I had. And then I capitalized on that thought by being able to go and get a Q-tip because what was the thought? The thought is clean the computer. I don't know if I'm making sense there, but the creation is the Q-tip. Do I have a Q-tip? No, I don't. But anyway, did I manifest that? Well, yeah, because I used some labor and took some of that organized labor in the form of money to a place and exchanged that labor for the thought in my head when I'm thinking, well, the Q-tips come in handy sometimes. So I have some on hand, right? But it's the thought. It's the thought in the manifestation in the reality. You have to think the thought and then go out and make the thought become a reality. And in this case, it was Q-tips, right? But it could just as easily be silver. Yeah. See, the thing is, educate self, educate others. You got so much going on here. What else? Yeah. Yeah. See, this is the thing. We're starting to find out about Canada also. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. I've used it in court on numerous occasions, and I can tell you that they respect that because United States Corporation is a signatory. And again, it's just a reiteration of the concept that you self-determine. Because what is the first thing that says in that covenant? That you determine your status. You determine who you are. You tell them who you are. And then what they try to do is trick you into not knowing who you are and telling them that you're a U.S. citizen. And how do they do that? Tricking you into doing voter registration, getting a driver's license, getting a state ID, getting right, where you say that you're a U.S. citizen and that you're a resident. Because guess what? These juristic entities do not have authority over non-residents and non-citizens. They assume you are an employee. Now, they will have jurisdiction and they can apply statute to you in many cases if you don't know how to defend yourself, if you have done something that breaks common law. If you've harmed others, you saying that I'm not a U.S. citizen and look, I got this 5-star pass, that ain't going to fly. And they're going to take you down on common law because you've actually harmed another. Now, there's a way to get out of that because it's going to be a commercial claim. And filing bankruptcy where you give them a claim form that they can't prove their claim with. They can't. Hey, you want to prove your claim? I'm going to give you an opportunity to prove your claim. I'm filing bankruptcy. So you've created this debt against me for whatever this charge is, and so I'm filing bankruptcy, and you need to prove your claims. Oops, contract law. I'm not going to get too deep into that because there are men that should not know that information. And right now, is it that time? Actually, it's a little late. Usually 9:45. There's a chopper flying by, and it's 10:30 now. Actually, it's past 10:30. It's 10:35. Oh, we did 10:10 during this time. But anyway, the idea is that much more chopper action than normal. And the other thing that I've noticed here, and I was going to read that to you. Let me find Zillow. Wee-haw. Okay. Arizona rentals. And let's refresh that. There are 40,626 units available for rent when I don't have any kind of, any amount of bedrooms, any amount of bathrooms. Now let's just go to, say, 1 bedrooms. There's a reason for this. Hold on. Okay. 38,664 at least 1 bedroom. Okay, let's go and see any price. Let's go 2 bedrooms. Let's have fun. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. And we apply. There are at least 23,660 rentals available that meet that criteria. How come so many rentals available? Is it because of the economy? I've been told that it's because the economy is making rentals available. Let's look at houses. And by the way, that's like probably one of the larger numbers I've seen since I've been looking in the last, 13 months. I look pretty consistently. Where is all those people? Could something have happened where all those people aren't around anymore? Could that be the case? It's possible that maybe they did that, and now, okay. The other thing that's happening, and I don't see it again. I've been out and about numerous times. The egg report. There's eggs. You got to pay for them, but there's eggs. Let's see. There's meat. You got to pay for it, but there's meat, and the prices are crazy. And when I go to El Super, or when I go to Costco, or when I go to a lot of different places, Target, lots and lots and lots of Mexicans, clearly Mexicans, speaking Spanish, lots of them everywhere. It's not like it's a ghost town and everybody ran home. But I am pretty confident that there are some people that rather than deal with ICE, because there has been some, what we call it, high profile raids, where like you knew it was ICE going into the house, or you knew it was ICE going into the apartment. There's been a few of them here, but not many. But the idea being is that maybe some of these people, rather than even deal with the hassle and not be able to come back, why not just go back to Mexico for a little while and wait for things to blow over and then come back? Because, how long are we going to keep this up? But the idea is that a lot of people have departed, which is why there are so many rentals available. Now, let's go look at houses and just see. Okay, I don't like to buy a house. I don't want to for rent. I want to for sale. And then I'm just going to go back to take this off. Any and any. I don't care how many bedrooms or how many baths. Apply that. And, by the way, real estate. As soon as you see the word real, it's fake. It's not a real estate. Anyway, 54,000 results. 54,801, if you want to be exact, in Arizona at the moment. That's a lot of houses. I need to see a graph, but I'm pretty sure that inventory is on the rise when it comes to the state of Arizona and the real estate market. You know where you can actually do is that Reventure app works really well. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy here on the YouTubes, but he has all kind of data. Well, hi! Look at all these people showing up. You know, you get all distracted, and it's like the squirrel. So I gotta not look over here. But all right, let's see here. Um, oh, you want the Maxim? Brad, just go to Kine. Just go Kirk's Law Corner. Fine, I'll do it. Lazy ass. You got the freaking computer right there in your hand or in front of you. Anyway, let's see here. Also, you can just search legal maxims and they'll come up. But here's the one that I was actually reading from. Let's see here. You go to his library and then you go over here. And I'll just put the library link. And I just realized Crouton Ramon's House of Math needs a library. I just have all my PDFs and all kind of stuff there. And there'll be a law library section in there. Okay, so there's that. And then just click the one that says legal maxims. This one. Just click that bugger. And then there it is, the PDF. And I'll put them in the chat just like, yeah. And the page that I read from was page 177. And that maxim that we were talking about when it comes to no one is prohibited from approaching the seashore is 1454. And the other one that's actually more important is no one may sue at law in the name of the yeah, I should probably quit. I'm getting tired. Anyway, no one may sue at law in the name of another is 1458. On that same page, 177. But know the maxims. Absolutely know the maxims. You can nail them with the maxims. And again, the statutes reflect the maxims. And one more time, custom is the highest form of law. We are Americans. Many Americans have been fooled into thinking that they're something else, into surrendering their rights, into signing documents that give away all their unalienable God-given rights in return for benefits and privileges from this corporation. And the corporation exacts a high price when it comes to taxes, when it comes to bonding you, when it comes to all the different things they do. When it comes to taking your sons and daughters and spending them foolishly in wars that have nothing to do with us. Yeah, the U.S. corporation. That's not United States of America's military. We don't have a military. The United States does. The United States corporation does. And see, this used to be wild, crazy talk, and now many people have figured out that there really was a war of northern aggression. And then after that war of northern aggression, these tiny hats put together a corporation for us and didn't tell the average person that that corporation wasn't the same thing as the republic and that their unalienable rights had been wavered as long as they were in contract with that federal corporation. So what Brandon Joe Williams does, what the guys over at the American Meeting Group, I can't remember what Yusuf L does, what Jonah Bay does, what the Lone Wolf does, what who else? I'm looking at all the different windows that I have open for the different sites. They all tell you how to sever those invisible contracts that you have with the corporate entities that are masquerading as states and counties and of course your republic, but it's not. It's a federal government, it's a state of, and it's a county of, and those are all corporations. Again, they're not illegitimate, they're de facto. And yeah, they got the guns and clubs. And until such time as you can remove yourself from these contracts by having some knowledge, uh, and it's fun too because once you get these get the knowledge and you can start spitting them out and you can start writing your own documents and you can start accepting and returning documents because you figured out about the promises to pay, uh, and it's all promises to pay. And once you read the UCC, you start to understand that yeah, you can start discharging your debt. And once you understand the laws, the way that they're written, and see, there's a difference. They're not really laws; they're statutes masquerading as laws. How can you tell? Well, one of the ways you can tell is that laws have to have implementing regulations. And see, part of the reason I knew that a lot of what I was watching was a show was that many of the charges against Trump had no implementing regulations. Further, let's take Title 26. Title 26 is not positive law. What does that mean? It means it applies to a certain class of people. So they have hijacked the word law even. Laws are universal, right? It is universal on this plane. You don't get to murder somebody else. That's a law. Doesn't matter where you are, in what country, that's a law. Um, there are other laws that apply universally, but statutes, not so much. Certain places, you can drive 75. Other places, there's no place in that operating territory that you're allowed to drive 75 if you are a person doing commerce on their lanes. Anyway, the idea is that they always try to trick you into surrendering your rights. Why would they do that? So that they can extract wealth from you. That's it. That's the whole game. They work not at all. You work all the time. Um, they create money quite literally out of thin air by being able to go to the Fed window. And you guys no can even get organized enough to get 7 or 8 people together to make your own credit union and apply for access to the Fed window. But see, these guys, once they get access to the Fed window, they don't have to pay the loan back. So I believe that's the mythical free money. Free money. How you get free money? You have to be able to know a lot of different things, fill out a bunch of paperwork, and yeah, there's lots of loans. And see, Doge has figured out Small Business Administration. There are many, many loans you can apply for, and they're not really loans. They're more like grants if you never have to pay them back. But see, now there's a new sheriff in town, and many people may have to pay those loans back. But there's access to the Fed window where it's not the same. That's not a business administration loan. That's you or them or somebody using a signature to create Federal Reserve notes. And no, you don't have to give them back. And once people started figuring that out, wait a minute, and that's where Brandon Joe Williams came up with his concept of infinite money. He has not achieved infinite money quite yet. Now, here's the thing. There are many ways to turn the tables if they have trespassed against your rights and extract wealth from them. But they don't make it easy, and they're not going to tell you how. They're not going to mention the fact that you need to make counterclaims and that it's not defendant anymore. You're going to be the demandant, and you're demanding politely, but you are exercising your rights. And when you exercise your right, there is no penalty. There is no controversy. And there's a couple of, I read them to you, where it has been shown, or it has been ruled, it is already stare decisis, that you can exercise your rights with impunity as long as exercising your rights causes no harm. But see, and I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty details of things, but recently I showed my sons, one son, how to exercise his rights. And of course, there was no penalty exercising his right. But see, he still has slave mentality that's been ingrained in there. Very difficult not to have that put in there. But he was thinking, well, did I get away with that? I'm like, you didn't get away with anything. You exercised the right. You had caused no harm. Okay, so and here's the thing: what they've done is they converted you saying that you have a right to travel, which you absolutely do, into some crazy sovereign citizen trial. So leave it alone. Allow them to do what they're programmed to do, and then know how to handle that presentment. And this other video that I just made, I talked a little bit about handling presentments, but there's only 5 ways to handle a presentment. And I only went through the first one, which is pay it. The other one is deny it. You don't want to do that. The other one is accept it on condition, denying counterclaim. The other one is you got the wrong guy, mistaken identity. Guys in jail try to use that all the time because they have to have your name and they have to have the right person. And lo and behold, many of the bad guys explained to me that when you stick a gun in a woman's face, for example, and make her give you her jewelry and her whatever's in her wallet, she's not going to be able to identify you later because she's going to be so upset and under stress. And on top of that, as you have figured out, to white folk, all us niggas look alike. So they'll never pick you up out of a line up correctly most of the time, if you know a few tricks of the trade, as they say. Okay, so the idea is, if that's not me, and there's a lot of Moors that use that. There's a lot of other guys because there is the juristic entity, and then there's the legal man, or not. Excuse me, the legal man and the juristic entity are the same thing. And then there's the living man, and there's a difference between the two. And oftentimes, one is a Moor, and the other is that federal make pretend citizen. And there's a difference between the two. Anyway, there's a way to go about it using that one on mistaken identity. So wait a minute, which ones did I cover? I covered, yes, I owe the debt. No, I don't owe the debt, and I'm not paying you. I'm going to pay this debt without recourse, subject to certain conditions. And see, that's the other thing you can do. You can have a debt and be like, yeah, I'll pay it. Say it's plumbing or something. You came to fix my leaky faucet and it still leaks. I'm not paying you until you fix the leak. Okay, I used to have a mechanic, was a great mechanic. You took it to him and he might gripe, but if it wasn't fixed, I mean, like if he fixed it, it was fixed. And if you took it back to him and he did the job and it was the same problem, he'd fix it for free. Because a lot of times he had guys working in his shop that weren't as good as he was. And he might grumble, but he wasn't going to charge you. So that was the deal, is that, hey, I paid you the money, but you didn't do the job. So you need to make it good. All right. Good businessmen will do that. And so will you if you're a good Christian. If you have created a debt, or you have caused a trespass, or you caused a harm, it is up to you to admit the fault and make it good to the best of your ability. Okay, so conditional acceptance. Yeah, I owe the debt, but right, and then it was confession and avoidance. Or yeah, I did the thing, but the reason why I did the thing was this, and because of these extenuating circumstances, I'm not really guilty of the thing or shouldn't be punished for the thing. Okay, and then so 5 ways to deal with presentments. Go look it up. Even Google will show you that. Oh, wait, here, I'll even type it in. Hold on a second, wait. And there's all kinds of documents like this. 5 ways to deal with presentments. Oh, and here I'll give you a gift. A pretty good search engine, it turns out. Okay, review the here's what the liars over at Google's Chat AI have come up with. When dealing with the presentment, you can review the document carefully for accuracy and compliance with legal requirements. 2, verify the identity of the person. That has nothing to do with how to respond to a presentment. Seek legal advice if the presentment raises concerns. Respond promptly with a clear acceptance or rejection. Okay, that's the way. There's 5 ways to respond to a presentment. All right, so let me put that in. 5 ways to, let's see if it changes. Respond to a presentment. Okay, there you go. Acknowledge receipt and just request some clarification, right? And then pay it. Dispute the claim entirely. Partially dispute the claim with supporting evidence. Negotiate a payment plan. That's when you've already accepted it. Seek legal counsel. Yeah, turn yourself into an infant. Thanks, Google. Anyhow, those are not the 5 ways to deal with a presentment. Let's see here. Oh, but now we go to Family Guardian. Yay. And Family Guardian has a little PDF here, which should be in the library at the Crouton Ramon House of Math place. Anyway, okay. And it's just a 9-page PDF. Oh, wait, I'll even put it in here. We love the Family Guardian, guys. I'm seeing a lot of times their information was so far up here, I couldn't freaking reach up and grasp it. And it took a long time for me to start figuring out, what is this non-resident alien? What is this? Anyway, a lot of their stuff turned out to be 100% correct. Anyway, so here is the 5 ways to rank honor and acceptance. You honor it and you accept it. Honor and conditional acceptance. You accept, but you have to come to a meeting of the minds and maybe have a contract or something. And, you'll conditionally accept once you conditions are met. Refusal for cause without dishonor, right? No dishonor, but an erroneous claim is refused for cause. You don't owe it. No liability evidenced pursuant to UCC 3501 and the California Commercial Code, the Commercial Code at 3501, which is just a reflection of the UCC because every state has UCC in their code. Okay, and then there's dishonor or refusal, and you'll start to see at UCC 306 that even if they dishonor or refuse it, they still have to discharge the debt. And then there's dishonor or refusal. There's the one that you don't want, and the one that I always forget, and the one that I was placed in by my silly little boys, where you just stand silent like a mute slave, where they come for you with documents. And instead of just responding in one of those 4 ways that I just met and defending yourself, you stand silent. So when you stand silent, they use the simple, what's it called, administrative process on you, right? The IRS, the state of whatever, taxing collection, anybody that's trying to get say that you owe a debt, they're going to send it to you, and then they're going to send it to you again, and then they're going to send it to you a 3rd time. And if you haven't responded in those 3 times, you are considered to be consenting and owing of the debt because you stood silent. So you have defaulted into saying that you owe the debt. Okay, so first one, what is that? And I've been over this about 100 times. The videos keep getting taken down. The first one is your first notice of whatever it is, right? And in that notice, you may want to put in that paperwork some conditions that they need to meet. Like, hey, prove it was me. I was in Idaho, and this thing happened in Arizona. I can prove I was in Idaho at this time. So can you prove that I was, right? Proof of claim. Can you prove that I was the one responsible? Can you prove that I had liability? Can you prove that this law that you're this statute that you're applying to me has implementing regulations so that there is an actual penalty? Can you show that, right? Okay, just asking simple questions. Can you show that I have liability for this debt that you created? and that I have a contract with you and that I am consenting to this contract. See, IRS absolutely is your friend, because when you let them know that, hey, I noticed that these are voluntary and I don't volunteer, and I'm going to put in this W-8BN and tell my employer to quit taking it out. Yeah, the IRS is good with that if you can prove that you don't owe the tax, because go over to, I did it the last one, where you can just show that, see, and you got to know them off the top of your head. Comes on it. I believe that's going to be, let's look. Ooh, that's not the one I was looking for, but this is a good one. For USC 71, all that part of the territory of the United States included within the present limit of the District of Columbia shall be the permanent seat of government of United States. Does that say United States of America or just United States? And that was what happened on July 30, 1947. See, and that's the other one you got to know. You need to know House Joint Resolution 192 was recoded because that was repealed. But the fact that the government is liable for your debts is still the case, and it's been codified. But anyway, that's not the one I was looking for. The one I was looking for is here. Hold on a second. And basically what it says is you are not liable for the your commerce, or your labor is not commerce. And that is not that one. There's that one. Somebody write it over there if you know. Oh, also I should put that one out. And I know I put it here, but of course I can't find it in the moment. And it wasn't that long ago. The permanent seat of the government. Oh, confound it. It's the one that is says that your labor is not an article of commerce. And I just put it here. And see, I should know it by heart, and I don't. So we'll find it together. Or we won't. Oh, there you go. Antitrust laws, found it. Okay, so what was that? And I should know it. Oh, 1517. All right. USC 15 USC 17. The very first statement. The labor of a human being is not a commodity or article of commerce. What else do these guys have jurisdiction over other than commerce? Again, nature of the action is always going to be commerce, right? Cause of action is always going to be you violating statute. So now look, I'm writing this down. 15 USC 17. I'll just put labor, not commerce at the moment. And then seat, and it is 71, seat of government. They tell you where it is. Oh, look, and then I just managed to manifest one of these after talking about that. Okay, so the idea being is once you learn this stuff, you can defend your in legis. You can defend that all caps name, right? The one that can't speak for himself and doesn't have thumbs. You can figure out that, hey, you can't tax my labor because it's not commerce, and you don't have jurisdiction over anything other than, that's a great argument right there. Then you could put it in your paperwork as part of it. Also, hey guys, it says in here numerous times that this thing's voluntary. So you know what? I choose not to volunteer. I don't believe in these causes, so I'm not going to volunteer my labor. And I'm going to do that legally, and I'm going to let you know. I'm not just going to stand mute and not pay. I'm going to send some documents in, and the IRS is very good about going, okay, In fact, we found in some cases where employers continued to take tax out after the IRS had been notified that the tax shouldn't be taken out, and they agreed that you weren't liable, you were exempt for whatever reason, and the IRS came down on the employer and said, "Hey, cut it out." Okay, IRS your friend, not your enemy. You're only your enemy if you're so silly that you think you owed a tax. And then you told them that you paid a tax last year and the year before that and the year before that, and then this year you're going to say, "Oh no, I don't like pay tax." Well, they're going to have a problem with that. And see, I see a lot of the alternative media, and see, they will dog you forever. They will try to use attrition to take you down. That eventually you'll just get tired of it, and it'll be easier for you to pay a tax than to keep fighting them. If you're ignorant and you're using stupid arguments that don't apply and have been beaten numerous times in the past. But the one that they can't beat is that, by the way, this is labor and labor isn't commerce, and you don't have anything other than authority over commerce. Now, there's income. Ooh, what if you buy a stock and you sell a stock and then you make some money? That's actually some income, and you might owe tax on that unless you tell them that you don't want to pay tax on that because it's voluntary. And you put your paperwork in. And on top of that, can you tax the living man's activities? You may not tax the living man's activities because that equates to peonage. See, because they codified the most peculiar of institutions. Using the 14th Amendment and a few other things, they figured out how to tax your labor, and voluntarily you give it to them. You don't fill out the paperwork, and they take a little bit each month. And so does the state oftentimes, and sometimes also the county. And then they'll have sales taxes, and then they'll have taxes, and then they'll tax your tax. Well, actually, Hawaii's done. Well, that's not true. Hawaii and New Jersey both have taxes on taxes. Federal government also taxes on that. That's how Bill Clinton managed to get himself a surplus while the debt went up. I just got into this little discussion. There isn't an administration that didn't increase the debt. All these guys claiming to have surpluses, yeah, they didn't have surpluses. How do you have a surplus when the debt continues to go up? Okay, and now these guys, Doge, they seem to be finding out that, yeah, there's a whole lot of graft and greed and fraud and so forth going on, and they're kind of putting it into it. And some of the things that they've done has just been tremendously fun. Tremendously. Where they finding out that people are collecting checks that don't exist. It's great. Anyway, and see, this is the thing about mathematics. No one has ever gone to war over mathematics because it's the mathematics, right? It's either right or wrong. You don't fight over, right? Okay, so the mathematics shows that if there's only supposed to be 334 million of us, and it turns out there's 394 million Social Security numbers, doing some very simple math, 60 million of those Social Security numbers shouldn't exist. Also, Small Business Administration loans going to people under the age of 11. What were they doing? They were setting this up for later so that they could get payments and loan payments from the time that person that they created was 11 to forever. Same thing with a lot of the benefits that people are collecting and paychecks that people are collecting for entities, juristic entities that may or may not be there. But see, you got to cast a check. And the check has a unique identifier on it. So it'll show up when AI does. And see, you and I, it would take forever to figure out where that check got deposited. But AI can just go down all the accounts and find all the deposits and then find where that check was deposited. And they're not going to say nothing because they deposited the check. And then in order for there to be the check to be deposited, there needs to be some kind of endorsement. Because guess what? The in legis that was that juristic entity that was collecting that money, no more thumbs. So somebody had to endorse the back of that check. Or there had to be some kind of endorsement, electronic or otherwise, but there had to be some kind of acceptance on that check by somebody. Who was that person? I think, and those persons are squealing and running for cover because they've been exposed. It's happening right in front of your face. Now, are you going to get total exposure, and is everything going to be, the days of wine and roses and the what are they calling it now? The golden era of the United. It's coming back. We're going to have the golden era. Wait, let me go look on the United States debt clock because it says it right there. We live in crazy times, guys. U.S. debt clock. Real time. It's the it's the golden era. Yeah, there you go. We're about to. It's going to be golden. And what they're doing here, though, if you look at the debt clock now, there's all this hidden wealth. Go take a look over there. Oh wait, here I'll even put it in there. But the part that we want to look at, because now I'm going to transition into talking about silver. You know I was going to do it. And I've been watching all kind of fun stuff about silver. It's happening. Guys, get dimes. Oh my God, get dimes. Get dimes. Get dimes. Just get dimes. Get your hands on as many dimes as you can get. Oh, wait. Here's two other things that I just clicked on and I want to do. But get dimes. Did I mention you should get some dimes? Okay, so look over here at the wealth clock and look in the corner. What's the paper to silver ratio? It's actually gone down because it was over 400 for a while and it's been going down just a little bit. It's now at 377.9 to 1. So let's just call it 378 to 1 is the paper to silver ratio. That means there's 378 people for every 1 ounce of silver out there. There's 378 people that think they own that ounce. On gold, it's only 129. Let's see. And let's see here. Right now, the dollar to gold ratio let's see here. The dollar to silver ratio right now should be somewhere around $1,097 per ounce. And the dollar to silver ratio in 1913 was only $2.68. Okay, so the idea is you really want to preserve your wealth by getting silver. And again, looks like they're going to fail to deliver either this month or next month. We've had the most record-breaking delivery months when it comes to them pulling contracts and actually standing for delivery. Like, I want the silver, put it in my hands. I do not want it in 6 months. I want it now. I don't want a piece of paper or more Federal Reserve notes that say I made a profit on this trade. What I want is the silver. Guess what? They don't have the silver. And looks like the Bank of England, the Royal Treasury, there's a run on gold in England because all these different places. I saw a great statistic about Australia about how much gold they produce and how much gold they have on hand or supposed to be, for the Australian nation. And all that gold is stored in England. Does anybody want to tell them that the gold might not be there? They may have leased it out, or there's maybe a couple of hundred other people that think they own that same gold. I don't think anybody wants to tell them. Anyhow, the idea is that metals are about to do something that they haven't done for centuries. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime event that's coming up. And it won't be too much longer because one more time, they don't have it. And the guys who are short can't get out of their shorts. So at some point here in the very near future, we're just about ending the first quarter. And this month, again, very auspicious. We have a blood moon and an eclipse, and we're coming into the actual beginning of their year. So and Donnie has mentioned April Fools numerous times, April 1st. And of course, that's the thing and is, right? And because he was looking at the chart and it talked about April Fools. Anyway, the idea is that that is coming, and there's going to be some pretty big changes happening here rapidly. But that's the issue, is that there's lots of things that can knock this. The math just says there are many things that can cause crashes and other events. But the main thing that you have to look at is silver, 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 because silver is going to collapse the banks. The other thing that can collapse the banks is the commercial real estate market, with all these buildings that are laying vacant right now. Why are they vacant? Again, we have all these inventories going through the ceiling. Houses here, I just showed you the numbers, right? And these are like crazy numbers for inventory and rental units and so forth. And then it turns out nobody's in the office buildings either. Where are these people? Could something have happened to them where they don't show up for work anymore ever, and where they don't need a house anymore or a car? Could something have happened? Something may have happened where we lost a few million of them. And now those houses and apartments are coming up in every state for rent because of the economy. They will never tell you the truth about anything, as people have figured out. The J6 meeting, it's I can't put it here because YouTube will get very upset if I put a link to BitChute or Rumble or Gab or the other ones. So you'll have to find it yourself. But there's the Health Ranger just came out with this one, and Brighteon Network, he interviewed a J6er, and listen to what the guy has to say. He woke up saying it's the same thing. Brandon Joe Williams, a couple of other people need to realize that these guys are not up and up. But when we take them down, we are going to be absolutely up and up. Because when it comes to treason and a couple of these other things under Title 18 and in the common law, the penalty is, that's the penalty. So you better make sure you cross the T's and dot the I's, and every bit of procedure and due process and so forth is afforded them all the way until they actually do stick their heads in that noose. Because this doesn't end until the ropes go taut. I've said this over and over again. They've been busted. We know what they're doing to the weakest among us, and it doesn't slide. They don't get away with it. They don't get away with saying I was just following orders. They don't get away with right. Okay. Now, some of them, on the other hand, may in fact repent for the atrocious and horrifying things that they've done. The issue with that is, as a Christian, and if they actually are repenting and asking forgiveness, again, confession and avoidance. Yes, I did these things, but they would have killed me otherwise. Yes, I was doing it, but I was born into it. Yes, I knew it was wrong, and I tried to get out, and they couldn't get out, because if they try to get out, they get dead, because they've signed blood contracts, or they've been born into families and so forth, and they don't want to be part of it. And we've now discovered that they have the technology where they can actually splinter people into one or more personalities, where there may be a personality in that person that's doing atrocious things. Oh no, and the other person that's out here in the public talking to you and isn't hardly even aware. It's like bad dreams that they're doing these atrocious things. Perhaps those people shouldn't wind up at the end of a rope. But the people that did that to them, splintered their personality, those people should definitely end up at the end of it. But seems to be difficult to get their names, doesn't it? We know who they are, we know where they live, we know what they do. But until such time as you have actual evidence, all it is innuendo and theater on the screens. But some of the people that have been talking lately are fairly credible witnesses, and they are saying what would normally have been, in my experience, say like in 1990, this would have been crazy, insane talk. No way is that movie star involved in that. And now it's pretty clear that, yeah, they are involved in that. And there's a whole currency that revolves around blackmail and control files and just horrifying things that the average person wouldn't even conceive of. And yet it's documented. There's video. You can identify the people who are in the video. You can tell where they were at what time. You can see emails. You can see flight logs. You can see all manner of details of evidence that makes it absolutely clear that they may have been involved in horrifying things, because the religions that they're involved in require blood sacrifice. So what did they do? They made it so that us peasants couldn't prosecute them for exercising their religion. Why? Because the guys that came over here, you thought it was because they wanted to exercise their ability to be Christians. No, it was freedom of religion. They just didn't mention the religion. You thought it was one religion when it turned out it might be this other religion, and they wanted to be able to come here in United States of America, on the North American continent, and practice their religions freely. And they weren't pretending when it came to drinking wine and eating flesh. They were actually eating flesh, and it wasn't wine, as part of their religion. Okay, because one, the peculiar institution didn't go away, and the worship of the elder gods, it didn't disappear either. All these secret societies, they take, for example, any of these cultures, whether it was, okay, in the Aztec, let's go down below our southern border into that culture down there that the Spaniards and that Spanish king tried to enslave. But there were people there that were considered high priests, and they did rituals that involved blood. They didn't just go away. These are the top of the society. Those priests and the families and so forth, they're not like they were the rulers. They were the right. They didn't just disappear. Same thing on the European continent. The kings and queens didn't just go, you guys take over, you parliaments. We just cede all of our power to you guys. That's not what happened. That didn't happen that way. It's not happening like that. Okay, but these guys, and Hawaiians, there were some kahunas that were practicing human sacrifice. Again, those kahunas were considered, they were high in the culture. You know, like presidents or like famous baseball players or basketball players or football players. They had money and wealth. They didn't work. Okay, so some other people from a society, well, we don't believe exactly what you guys believe, but basically the same thing and mostly the same ritual. And yeah, we understand sacrifice. And I tell you what, you come into our fold, we'll teach you, right? Okay, and now you've got people of various indigenous cultures that may have secret societies that may involve sacrifice, just like they always have from time immemorial. They didn't just disappear. They didn't just go away. It's not passe. And it looks like some of those rituals, as it turns out, as you study, if you study, but study just Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce over there in Virginia, go over to, right? And well documented. Tremendous amounts of witness and documentation. If you take a look at that, you can see, and that was supposed to be Michael, the archangel entity manifesting through this conduit known as Edgar Cayce. Okay, that's the positive end of it. So if there is that, guess what? There's also the other end of it, the opposition, the adversary to Michael, one we would consider good, and the other we would consider evil. The evil ones demand sacrifice. Always have, always will. No way around it. If you give them their sacrifice, they may contract with you in this construct, and you might receive fame and fortune. Go the other way against them, and you might receive what's considered misfortune, where you don't have wealth, where you may have poverty, and you may even, many of these guys talk about loss of health, becoming tremendously sick, because there is such thing as spiritual attack. Because again, this isn't what you think. And all of these people have had rituals and so forth. And some of them, like go with Don Juan, the concept that there are technologies or rituals or ceremonies where you leave the body behind, but the consciousness or the spirit or whatever you want to call it travels. I can tell you from personal experience, this is a thing. You don't talk about it too much, but the ability to leave the body behind, there's a technology there. Now, some of these guys will use this technology in evil ways. Simple as that. Now, and there's more of it going on than you might imagine. Again, they don't want you knowing this stuff, and they'd rather you not believe. And it doesn't matter if you believe, they believe. And there is a crap ton of documented evidence for actual, we'll just call them others, being in existence and working through regular humans like us. But they're not regular humans because they can do it at will. Whereas a lot of people that, fool around with Ouija boards and maybe they're into tarot or they get into astrology and so forth, and they're dabbling and they go through and they don't understand there are certain rituals that would work if you did it at a certain time on a certain hour on a certain, like when, say, the moon turns red. Or maybe when it eclipses, that might be a good time to do certain things. And those things are coming right up in this month. This is, whose month is this? Well, first off, the Pisceans come in on this month. But what is Mars? Mars, the god of war. So you make war at the very end of the year. And then, because war is a destroyer, you rejuvenate in the beginning, spring, right? 21st, and then like the 1st of April. And then see after the war, what comes next. Then comes the story that they tell you, Feast of Ishtar. Easter, the resurrection, the renewal, the rejuvenation, right? The beginning of the year. See, but they got us so screwed up that we think the beginning of the year was in the dead of winter a couple of months ago. No. See, their calendar is different than ours, and they've synced up their calendar with astronomy and astrology and all kind of ritual, and these things have gone and been handed down over many years. And even again, none of these things would work if it wasn't a mathematical construct that we're in. I don't know how to explain that to you directly, but the idea is in the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word is sound. And sound then at a certain frequency and vibration, which can be identified and codified and quantified mathematically and numerically, because it's just sound, which has frequency, and vibration, which has, we can map it and describe it. Okay, and then at a certain frequency and vibration, it becomes light. And what is it? It's, what was it? It was Thessalonians. First Thessalonians. So that's another one where you should be able to uh, quote them quickly and easily is Bible quotes. And I'm used to be good at that. But anyway, it's First Thessalonians 5. You are all children of light. All of you are children of light. And then Hosea 4:6. Everybody knows my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. But the next sentence, because thou hast rejected knowledge. And see, this is what's happened with the Democrats right now. They are rejecting knowledge left and right and some ignorant as fuck about it. Ignorant as can be. But right, you're going to be destroyed in that mode, or you're going to raise your consciousness. And right, but the way they are right now, where they can't even acknowledge that maybe it would be a good thing not to spend billions of dollars on stupid shit, on graft and greed and corruption, on right. How is it possible that it's billions and $100 billion, 1,000 millions, 100 times? What happened to the money? I mean, that's a lot of money. 1,000 millions, 100 times, $100 billion. They don't know what happened to the money. Okay. Wouldn't you like to know? Well, now it's none of your damn business. You shouldn't know about me. How can I? I make shit up. Have you seen that? How many of them was it? 22 of them saying exactly the same thing in exactly the same tone of voice. That was a little bizarre. But anyway, the idea is, and more lies, more lies. It is pyrazine. Pyrazine is what's addictive, not nicotine. And I have experimented with this myself. This is change because I'm just looking at this. Because again, that's the next thing that is here. We're being destroyed for lack of knowledge, and because you reject the knowledge. Here is some knowledge. Pyrazines are addictive. Okay, I put these patches on. This is 3 times what they talk about in all my notes here for what they did for treatments for certain things. And I quit taking them. You don't, Jones, like, oh, I got to have another patch. I've got one on, I believe that. Yes, I have one on right there. Maybe you can't see it. But anyway, it's one of these nicotine patches. There you go. You can see it right there. And see, I like to put it right in the main vein. But it doesn't cause you to, when it runs out, or like, this box is almost empty and I have to order more. If I run out of these, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for my next order to come. Which seems to me that would be the case if this was actually an addictive substance. Right? Same thing where they lied and lied for years about the injecting the marijuanas. That if you injected the marijuanas, you could get addicted to it. No, you can't. And I've numerous times myself, others, you run out of weed, you ran out of weed. You get some more whenever. It's not like I gotta have it. Where a lot of these other drugs that they have, it is that way where you got to have it, and you'll do well. I mean, what's going on in our cities right now? It's crazy. But anyhow, I got off on a tangent there when it came to this, but it's all tangential. But the point of this whole diatribe is the fact that it is a universe that can be quantified using mathematics. So when you get that frequency and vibration to a certain point, the sound becomes visible. And we call that, and what is there other than light and sound? It turns out there isn't anything on the prime material plane other than light and sound. That light and sound can be, again, quantified and described mathematically and numerically. The application of this mathematics and description is called physics. And that physics tells you that one of the rules that we have is that 2 things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Even though I know from the physics is that I'm not actually even touching this thing when you get right down to it, because what you have is light that's solidified and condensed here, and light that's considered consolidated uh, into this physical form, and they can't occupy the same space at the same time because the light forms have turned into atoms, and then we get into chemistry and we can define all of those things. And not only that, we can figure out that they're all on the electromagnetic spectrum, and everything that you see, touch, and feel is not everything that's here, because you can only see this much of that electromagnetic spectrum, and you can only hear this much of that electromagnetic spectrum, and you can only feel so much of that light and sound in the form of energy that we call temperature, heat, and so on, which again can be described with mathematics. The whole thing, as it turns out, is mathematical in nature. How could that be if it wasn't creation? Simple as that. Now, once people start getting a hold of that information, and that's again some of the information that's in the secret society and the upper secret societies and the upper degrees, you can start to manipulate that light and sound and make things manifest that you think about. How's that? And if you can imagine it, you can create it. And you don't have to know all the mathematics, just like you don't have to know, I don't know how my lungs manage to separate the different gases that I need to power this thing, one of them being oxygen, but not just oxygen, because what we're breathing is a lot more than just oxygen. If you take a look at the composition of the invisible thing that you're breathing, or is it breathing you? Is that really air that you're breathing? I think that was a question in the Matrix. But anyway, the idea is I have no idea how my lungs do it, but they do it without me thinking about it. The whole time I've been talking to you, I haven't been thinking about, well, I need to breathe now. And see, this is the problem with some of the fentanyls, and I've seen it in person. You get too much of that drug and you forget to breathe. Literally, you get so relaxed, you forget to, your body just shuts down, and it doesn't do it automatically anymore. It doesn't just inhale and exhale. It stops, and then you die. Simple as that. Okay. The point being is that this creation that you inhabit, you need to know the difference between the name of the thing and the thing named, because the name of the thing, this thing, is not the same as the thing named. That was one of the first ones, and that's all cool because it's hard to say and so on. It's a tongue twister, but that's actually the crux of the matter. And when you start to, again, read the slaughterhouse cases, read some of the cases that I went over, and understand what's in there, you'll start to be able to see the difference between this thing and the juristic entity. And you want to take control over both, right? There are disciplines that through meditation and prayer, you get, and I'm living proof, by the way, just looking, that you have disciplines wherein you can slow the aging process, wherein you can take control of the thought process here, or not. And then there's the other disciplines where you take control of the juristic entities, the fictions, because this supposedly is real, although the Supreme Yoga will tell you it's an illusion. But the juristic entity is really, really fiction. But you can take control of that too. And there's a way to do that. Again, there's paperwork to be done. But mostly, more than the paperwork, and several people have said this, and I'll repeat it. This is not coming, this is not original thought from me. But more than a few people have figured out that it's here. You change your mind, right? You get control of your mind, and you realize that these others have captured your mind, and through all manner of fraud and trickery and deceit, they get you to think one thing, and if you believe it, if you believe they have plenary power over you, if you believe that you have to register your car, if you believe that they can tax your property or your labor, then they can. If you believe that they can't, and you know that they can't do those things lawfully, they can do them legally, then you can inform them that you have become aware of this using paperwork. But your paperwork is not going to do it all for you. You have to be able to speak your paperwork. You have to be able to uh, understand what your paperwork is doing and why you have it and who to say it to so you get recognized. Your paperwork isn't going to do it all for you, in other words. And like I said, many people have said this now, and it's here. And see, they make many assumptions, which makes you assumpsit. But I am non-assumpsit, and I sent my paperwork in now, and I rebutted those assumptions, making me non-assumpsit. And when I first walked in the court a long, long time ago, I let them know I was non-assumpsit, and they pretended that they didn't know what non-assumpsit meant. So I pretended that I didn't know what non-assumpsit meant either. In fact, she just after reading my paperwork, she said, "Assumpsit," like she was kind of asking me. I would not correct her, and she decided, well, since this guy, anyway, and it's been on ever since. And it's on. If you notice, the tide has turned. Many of them who assumed and made assumptions are now realizing that, oh shit, these slaves are waking up. Now what? Yeah, you're stone cold busted treason. You're stone cold busted trespassing against unalienable rights. You're stone cold busted defrauding millions of people into thinking that they're in the republic when actually it's the United States corporation, wherein they've surrendered all their rights that they thought they had, and constitutions don't apply because they don't even know how to declare. I do declare. Yeah, you have to make some declarations. Right? The Declaration of Independence. You like that. You didn't write that, but you're part of the posterity that they talk about. So again, it's here. It's here. They chain this to the sky. The war is for your mind. Alex Jones has it exactly right. It's a war for your mind. And once they get that, they don't have to worry about you having guns, slaves. You'll never use them. You'll never point them in the right direction. You'll never use them against the right people. Because there's all these people in the way that you think they right. There's guys that they're mad at the IRS. They're mad at their stockbroker, so they use your. No, that's not the guys that you should be mad at. They're mad at the cops. Uh, there's Dems is not the guys. Dems is actually the guys that is the shield that will stand in the way and take the bullets for the guys that should be getting the bullets. But again, you don't even know who to shoot at. I've always been concerned about that. If it devolves, most people won't know. They'll wind up shooting at each other, and they love that. That's the whole point: is can they get these Americans to kill each other? And the answer is yes. We got it to the point now where there's Democrats that want to kill Republicans, and there's Republicans that want to kill Democrats, and they're all in the same cult under the same tent fighting. And while they're all fighting with each other, they're not looking at the guys that fund both sides of the war. They're not looking at the guys who came here to practice their religion freely on the North American continent on a bunch of unsuspecting Indians and getting those Indians to consent to being taken advantage of because they codify their piracy. Oh, and that's a shout out. I know that guy watches once in a while because I corrected some of his, what I don't know if I improved some of his paperwork. But the Stop the Pirates guy, are you familiar with Stop the Pirates? He got a lot of good shit. Okay, I was going to read this to you. We're gonna circle back to the fact that these guys don't have oaths of office. So if they don't have oaths of office, oops, why I just put that right there. They must be acting in their private capacity. And if they're acting in their private capacity, they have no immunity. Where any state proceeds against a private individual, does that say a man or woman? No, it says private individual in a judicial forum, it is well settled that the state, county, municipality, etc., waives any immunity to counters, cross claims, and complaints by direct or collateral means regarding the matters involved. Deny and counterclaim. They cannot, right? Because they're using statute. So since they're using statute, okay, so the next one, when enforcing mere statutes, again, these are not laws, these are statutes. Statutes apply to a certain class of people in certain jurisdictions, right? Laws apply to everyone equally. Judges of all courts do not act judicially. Why? Because they're administrative courts. We have no third branch of government. It was all set up by United States of America, that Constitution for the United States of America. The way they got around it was they came up with a corporation through contract called United States. Sounds a lot like United States of America. And United States has a whole bunch of statutes. And all those statutes are regarding commerce. And in fact, it's the Interstate Commerce Clause and its misapplication that allows them to operate in the jurisdictions that they do. Anyway, when enforcing mere statutes, I love the word mere, they're mere statutes, judges of all courts do not act judicially and thus are not protected by qualified or limited immunity. Okay, the first one I read you was Lochenbach v. Tekla. Let's see. And the other one is Owen v. City, 445 US 662 Busk. I don't know how I can put this here. Oh, I know I can put it here. You have to be on Facebook, though. Let me put it here. And you can head on over to Crouton Ramon's page on Facebook. That video managed to stay up. And the last video I did here managed to stay up. But the 2 or 3 videos before that all got taken down. And I noticed that, it's when I start getting a little too truthy when it comes to our buddies in the societies. And here's the other thing. When I was reading to you from the State Department's field office manual, one thing I should mention also is that, where is that I was just reading? There it is. Oops, that's us. What's this? All right. That's 8 FAM 505.2, passport endorsements. There's the Order of Malta, the Maltese, those guys, they don't have a nation. They don't have a nation that has what you're thinking of as a nation with actual land mass and property. It's intellectual. It's a fiction. And that's why those guys can all, if they're in the United States on the North American continent, they can get passports and be ambassadors at large for the Maltese order. And there's quite a few of those orders where they have passport endorsements that are 11s that they're not nation states. See, we think that you have to be an ambassador for, like United States of America, or you have to be an ambassador for a country. Okay, yes, but there's also ambassadors for the mental state that you have acquired when you realize that, right? Because it's a state, it's a state of mind, but it's still a state. And that state is identified with a passport card. and or that you are part of that state, and that you have separated yourself again from the fiction and the legal thing, they will give you a document. But the document itself, and the paperwork and the plastic card, nowhere on there, other than the 5 little stars, is there an indication of what you've declared, because you're in the private. So see, the guy on the other side of the screen can see, 5-star passport, do not detain, that has might be carrying a firearm because he has unlimited ability to carry a firearm, and because that's an unalienable God-given right that you don't give up when you just travel. So there's a certain place that you go, and there's a certain procedure that you follow, and they don't make that procedure and place well known to the peasants, because they're already a little upset that a lot of people are starting to figure out. But see, the whole passport thing. But see, and they much rather you get a real ID with a little star on your card. No, but the idea is that too many people are starting to figure this out. But on the other hand, only about 6% of Americans get a passport anyway. I had a passport, very sad, lost it, that had PRC in there. I had been to People's Republic of China. And so out of the 6% of Americans, only about 2% have been inside PRC. I'm one of them. Okay. Because I have been endowed with my creator the right to travel upon this green earth. And there's lots of places that I want to go see that my government says I don't get to go see, because it's not my government. It's a bunch of guys that are saying, oh, you don't get to go to Iran. I want to go to Iran and see some stuff. But that would make me a person of interest and a trader just because I want to go to Iran. I don't want to go cut a deal with some fucking Ayatollah. There's shit that I want to see in Iran with my own eyes. Same thing, Turkey. Same thing, Lithuania. I'm allowed to go to Lithuania. But Turkey would be another one. I want to go to Istanbul. I want to see that city with my own eyes. I want to walk on the streets. I want to smell the air. My sons currently, they want to go to they are in Asia. Why? Because 2040 and 2046, and we know that Asia is probably not going to be the same in just a few short years. So they want to go see it now before the big changes happen. And there's a chance that those big changes don't happen, except that I'm pretty sure they're going to happen because math. Again, Jason over there at Archaix spells it out for you pretty clearly. And there's plenty of evidence to show that, yeah. And then there was a whole other channel here on the tubes that's gone. I can't even remember the guy's name. It was a Jewish guy that had traveled to the Middle East, and he had done all manner of research on 2046. And then before that, the first time I figured out the whole 2046 wild thing was, I can't remember her name. Oh, shoot. She does, she got a little tiff with Nino Rodriguez there for a while, and it's Carrie Cassidy. And Carrie Cassidy was interviewing this guy that was talking about a celestial alignment and devastation and huge earth changes that happened every time this thing came about. And he could go back with the sky charts and show that every time this certain alignment showed up, that within a little while and in the month of May, things happened. And then I get it from this other guy. I think it was the Noetic Society. Can you remember that guy? I used to put his videos, but I mean, that channel has been scrubbed and I cannot find him anywhere. But that guy. And then the third one was Jason. And see, he came up with 138. I did not come up with 138. I was fooling around with harmonic numbers like 108 and 72 and so on, the harmonic numbers. And turns out it wasn't. It was 138 was the periodicity. And again, right there, the mathematics shows that this has to be a construct. Because otherwise, above all, the mathematics is predicted, but we wouldn't be able to figure out that it was 2046 in the month of May that this thing is happening. if it wasn't a mathematical construct. We're in a creation. Apparently, we co-create, allegedly, but this isn't an accident that just blew out of somebody's ass. It's not a big bang that just threw from one cell to this. Uh, this not in this construct anyway. In this construct, there is mathematics going on, and you can discover that mathematics. And once you discover that, and it applies to your own life too. Many people have figured that out. Um, but if you can start figuring out a few things, you can start being able to make predictions based on um, certain time stamps. That's why the on all graphs and charts. This one, that's the time one, always. This one can be a lot of different things, but X is almost always the axis that time, over time. We're plotting things over time. Um, Time, the study of time, that is the queen of the sciences, and that is the astrology and the astronomy, where we look at the things in the sky and we find, and that's why we developed the calculus. That's why they developed the calculus, is to be able to make these predictions and be able to track what they were observing in the sky. And it turned out it was mathematical. All of it can be described mathematically. So the big stuff, like the planets revolving and doing what they do in the sky, looks like we're stationary and all of that's moving, but that's a whole other story in a couple of hours. Oh shoot, I've been going almost 3 hours. I'm going to quit here shortly. But the idea that you can track all of this mathematically, right there, should give you an idea that you're in creation. Okay, the other part of that, like I said, all of the light and sound and everything, that's all there is, can be described mathematically. Right? On your computer, that color right there is a code, which is different from that code, which is different from that code. They're digits, so that it renders those pixels in a certain color. And it renders the pixels and refreshes the frame so quickly that it all looks, and you hear sound, and you get the illusion that I'm talking to you on the screen. And it's great because I can make this video now, and 5 years from now, you can go back and look at it if they don't delete the fucking thing. But there's a lot of videos that I've made years ago that you can look at, and I can talk to myself through time. And I can see the changes and understandings that are right, because it's a nonstop progression. And what I'll go with Brandon again, and a couple of others though. He went on a parabolic learning curve. But many people, if you just chug through this day after day, read a little bit of this, read a little bit of that, take a look at the maxims, take a look at the statutes, take a look at pertinent cases, take a look at the idea that there's a procedure that you follow whenever it, right? So that we have custom, and so that we have the ability to deal with each other in ways that are non-violent, and allow us to interact peaceably with each other, even if we come from different cultures or different, right? So a universal commercial code. And commercial code, that's commerce. That's on one side. And then on the other side, you have the private contracts. Okay, the private contracts are enforceable, and that's the whole one of the main purposes of having a fucking government in the first place, is to enforce contracts. Right, so that if you and I make a contract, and it's an actual contract where we've come to a meeting of the minds and we both signed our names that we agree to whatever is in the contract, whether it be land or deeds or titles or whatever it is, and then the other person does something to dishonor the contract or breaks the contract or violates, okay, then it's not me that's going to go over there and enforce the contract. you have this whole other apparatus, the merchant's tent, to which has been taken over, to enforce the contract. And in order to protect and defend yourself or your allegiance, you gotta know some law. You have to know some statute. You have to know some procedure. You have to know how to conduct your court and how your paperwork should look, so that they can make hide or hair of it. And see, once again, even if you get it 100% right, the other guys are not honorable, and they're not going to fight if you've got them dead to rights. They're never going to let you set a precedent. They're never going to let you expose the fraud, ever. They just won't fight. Simple as that. Okay, so, and they're going to assume that you never learn how to make a counterclaim. Even though if you knew how to make counterclaims, it's impossible for them to defend against, because they tell you right there that they're not protected by qualified or limited immunity if you're just dealing in the world of statute, and particularly not if they don't have oaths of office that are valid. So for sure, now it's mano a mano, it's man against man. But they want to make sure that you don't know that. And they want to be able to say, that's conspiracy theory, that's crazy sovereign citizen talk. No, it's your own fucking statutes that I'm reading. And again, oh, look, here's the case law. And oh, look, here's, right? Like Brandon had a couple of cases, you read it, it was pretty solid. And the judge was just like, I cannot even understand this. I cannot make this out. This is gobbledygook. And so when you're writing in like, what's his name, Miller's parse syntax, even more, they're going to be like, I can't understand what this says. And again, you have to make sure you understand that, you're your own postmaster, and that stamps have something to do with it. And the idea that there's a place to sign and all this stuff, right? Procedure, right? Details. The devil is in the details. And that's where they try to trip you up, is in the details. So you got to learn some of these details. And the way, the best way I can think of is teach it to somebody else, and you'll learn it. Who should you teach? I would say your sons and daughters, and have them ask lots of questions. And then once you learn it, teach others. See, because I was on the phone, or actually I wasn't on the phone, I'm doing this. I was on video with my sons while they were filling out their documents. And lo and behold, under my tutelage, and also with the stuff that they had read from Brandon Joel Williams and Copper Moonshine Stills and the Bad Wolf, or the Lone Wolf, or whatever that guy's name is, over here on YouTube, they got 4- and 5-star passports at 19 and 20 years old. Okay, that's step one. They're not done. They got to learn trust law, and they got all kind of stuff. But that's a big step on the way, right? That's a little milestone. Okay, if they can do it, you can do it. Older boy, like I said, not paying federal income tax. If he can do it, you can do it. And a lot of those guys, for some of you guys watching, that's a couple of $1,000s a month in your pocket. Might behoove you to learn the paperwork. But again, don't get analysis paralysis, but don't do anything until you understand what you're doing. And again, get it to the point where you just, and I'm going to make a long list here, because Brandon is one of them. There's a bunch of them. There's Alphonse, and there's, oh man, there's so many of them. I can't remember their names. It's annoying. But the idea is that you watch their videos, and it's the same USC 471. It's the same 15 USC 17. It's the same 28 USC 1743. It's the same. It's going to be the same ones every time. And you'll see which ones apply and which ones you hear constantly, and you should know what those are. And you should be able to rattle them off the top of your head and know what you're talking about. Same way, you should be able to spit out a few of these. My grandma was excellent at being able to quote chapter and verse out of this book. Right, the Jehovah Witnesses or the Mormons would come by, and she'd always offer them water. And yeah, come inside. And then they would be making excuses to try to get out of there because Grandma could quote this book if she wanted to, because she'd read the thing, unlike most Christians. And again, I'm going to say it one more time, that Jesus is a real thing. You can go all day long about, was there a living man walking around on the earth committing, it doesn't matter. That's not the point of this. The point of this is that there is the Christ consciousness and that Jesus paid your debts. Crucified between, who is he crucified? On Golgotha? Anyway, you know the story, or maybe you don't, but you ought to know the story. And the idea is that it was the ultimate sacrifice. So if he paid the sacrifice, you no need pay the sacrifice because your debt already paid. Same thing, 1933, your debt already paid. Your debt is paid by this other entity known as United States. And it's codified, and I took a picture of that because there was a little argument on whether HGR 192 was repealed or not. Yes, it was, but it was recodified in a different place, and I should know that off the top of my head, and I don't have it written down, so I don't, and I can't say it, and I'll say it to you next time. I was just starting to take notes about that. You can see this one's not done, and see equity and colorable and contracts and so forth and juris, and I don't have the codes written here at all. But and again, if somebody could write that over here, that'd be great if you knew it. But it turns out a lot of you guys don't know it. But that's another one that you should have readily available to you, right? For instant recall is the idea that the government owes the debt. So now when you get bills, you can reference that and discharge them. Anyhow, I've gone long enough. We're just about to go 3 hours. So I'm going to call it an evening. It was a happy Monday. Many big things in quote unquote current events in the theater that is United States Corporation should be happening this week. And over the next 3 weeks, silver should do one thing or the other. And I can't see how they can keep it down here too terribly much longer if they fail to deliver. And if it becomes clear that on the retail side, they're swimming in silver. But on the wholesale side and on the big contract side, they are not swimming in silver or gold. And they're having a difficult time getting the gold to where it's supposed to be according to the contracts. Okay. E pluribus unum, educate yourself, educate others. I'm just having a fun time this evening talking about a few of these things. And a lot of it is also just for clarifying my thought. And see, now the ones that I can't spit out immediately, I'm going to look them up, write them down to the point where I can. Because there was a time when I knew, and this is the thing with this knowledge. It goes up, it goes down. You're studying one thing and you got them all, and then you write it down and then you put it aside and forget about it and study some other stuff. But you got to remember that stuff and make it available for instant recall, especially when it comes to debt discharge, being able to quote the UCC, being able to quote the USC, and knowing what's in there and how it applies. And then again, pretty pissed off at certain people because turns out we aren't allowed to take a direct cause of action when it comes to 18 USC, like 242 or 243 or some of these other ones, RICO and so on. You have to refer it to a prosecutor. And the prosecutor is never going to take the case. But anyway, if so, then you have to learn about on the civil side and 42, USC 42. Ooh, you can get them there. And then find out about the bonds and so forth. Again, it just boils down to studying this stuff, knowing your shit. And once you understand it, educate yourself. And then, like this, educate others. Simple. Okay, Crime Stoppers. We've been doing a really shitty job at stopping crime. So the way to stop the crime is to educate self. and then educate others. And then when we have when there's millions of us that understand the republic and the difference between the corporation and the difference between the living man and the juristic entities and the difference between and why they need agency agreements and the fact that it's a Nemo that they cannot sue in the name of another and so on, things will change. But until then, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge because they have rejected knowledge. Because for a lot of people, this is conspiracy theory and nerd stuff. But actually, it's everyday living if you're an American. And you need to know it. And you need to be, it's just part of the culture, part of your life. When you look up on the screen and you see that person and you can identify, oh, that's, I don't know, Taylor Swift. Oh, that's Lady Gaga. Oh, that's, okay. That stuff pretty much doesn't matter. You should be able to go up there and go, oh, that's George Washington. Oh, that's, right, John Adams. Oh, that's Thomas Jefferson. What did he write? What religion were they practicing? Oh, that's Benjamin Franklin. Oh, this is, you know, the cases that have to do with my freedom. I went over a long video before. Oh, that's what 4 USC is about. Oh, this is what 28 USC is about. Oh, this is 5 USC. Ooh, administrative procedure. That one's pretty important. Oh, look, this is 1 USC. Oh, this is definitions and words. You should have a pretty good idea because all of these things affect you personally every day. And there are those out there whose one and only job is to extract as much wealth out of you as possible. And they make jokes about the fact that show me the man and I'll show you the crime, because they've written so damn many laws that at any given time you could be breaking one completely ignorantly. And guess what? Ignorance is no excuse. Guess what? That title or that sentence or that saying applies to police officers, applies to judges, applies to politicians, mayors, and governors, and even presidents. But see, they make it where they're not ignorant of the law. And they have an understanding of procedure. So if they do, in fact, transgress or step across, they can defend themselves. And at the very worst, confession and avoidance. Okay, Crime Stoppers. E pluribus unum. I will talk to you guys soon. And again, I think I'll be making more of these videos because there's so much to talk about. I didn't talk about any kind of natural remedies. I didn't talk about, making yerba mate. I didn't talk about anything other than law and esoterica. But anyway, take it easy. E pluribus unum. I'll talk to you guys soon.